I was going to take a look at AEW's Fight Forever in today's video, but everyone else has that covered. You don't come here for the new stuff anyway, so let's take a look at Rumble Roses. Like Fight Forever, this game was developed by Yuke's, though we have an interesting publisher this time around. It's Konami, back when Konami used to actually care about console games. Rumble Roses runs on the SmackDown Here Comes the Pain engine, but you pervos weren't buying this game for the grops. Oh no, Rumble Roses can be described with one word. Jiggly. It's very, very jiggly. We have a full female roster in this game, and sex appeal is the driving force behind Rumble Roses. Not pulling off F5s and jackhammers, although you could pull your jackhammer. Anyway, I have no experience at all with this game, so this is going to be a voyage of discovery, a voyage to Jiggle World. I do remember downloading the demo of this sequel on Xbox 360 and I didn't think it was all that bad, but I only played it a few times and that was many years ago. So this is all new to me and I'm actually pretty excited to try this out. I mean, Here Comes the Pain, the SmackDown game that everyone says is top tier. Rumble Roses sounds like a no-brainer, so let's check it out and see if we can find something beyond the jiggles. Alright, first, the big question is why? Why did Konami want Yuke's to develop a PS2 wrestling game that's main focus centers around scantily clad women? The answer is simple: to appeal to you, the hornball teenager at the time who also happened to enjoy pro wrestling. The game was announced at Konami's Gamers Day press event back in January 2004 as WWX Rumble Roses, and Akari Yoshida, producer of Konami Computer Entertainment Tokyo, said, WWX is a powerhouse combination with some of the best wrestling action found on any platform, sexy female models, audacious poses, and bold moves, all delivered with state-of-the-art graphics for a visually stunning game. President of Yuke's Entertainment, UK Taniguchi, said, when Konami approached us with this concept, we could hardly wait to get started. Oh, I bet you couldn't. We're excited to develop a new style of wrestling game, one that provides a high quality wrestling experience but also introduces humor and a whole lot more sex appeal. So I'm expecting high quality wrestling, hilarious jokes and sex appeal. Sounds like a recipe for success if you ask me. I start the game up and man, the opening FMV goes on forever. I mean, it looks great and all that, but you've got a full cover version of David Lee Roth's Yankee Rose and that whole song plays, including the fade outs. The video's so long that footage begins to repeat in places, but anyway, I'm in the main menu and oh no, there's no tutorial. Not a big deal, but it would have been handy. Upon researching Rumble Roses, I learned that the US and EU versions of the game got a ridiculous amount of content removed or changed completely, and one of those things taken out was a tutorial mode. I also noticed that the Japanese version allows you to switch the language to English, but this also makes changes to the game. So I'll re-download the game and I'll try the Japanese version with the English language switched over. It's my understanding that the definitive way to play this game is to just play the Japanese release and keep the language set as is, but I want to see what happens in story mode, so yeah, sorry about that. So I start the Japanese version of the game, I watch the Yankee Rose video again because reasons, and there it is, tutorial mode. Let's switch the language over to English, let's check out the tutorial, and yeah, it's only the story mode that gets translated. The tutorial videos are just videos that contain Japanese subs and instructions hard-coded. So it's going to be a case of visiting game FAQs and setting up a few singles matches to work out what's going on. Brilliant. So here we are, Dixie Carter versus Ya Mum. I was hoping for a Here Comes the Pain control scheme, but no, this is going to take a bit of getting used to. Square performs strikes, triangle performs Irish whips and grapple moves. Circle is a general action button for pins, breaking submissions and getting in and out of the ring. And the X button makes your character run and the jiggles jiggle. R1 is your counter button. On its own it guards, and along with square it will counter strikes, and with triangle it counters grapples. L1 pulls off your killer or your lethal move, and L2 pulls off a humiliation move. These can be countered by holding R1 with L1 or L2 respectively, and I'm not going to remember any of this shit, so my plan is to just hope for the best. You see that heart filling up when I attack your mum? This is the humiliation meter. Why humiliation is represented by a heart, I don't know, but certain moves you perform will fill up your opponent's heart, and then you can pull off a humiliation move. The be-all and end-all super finishers of Rumble Roses. And that's the basics of the game. First impressions are pretty good. The game looks the part for sure, and for a PS2 game, it looks very bright and lively. I like the isometric camera angle. I like that the moves you pull off feel like they've got a ton of weight, and I also noticed quite a few SmackDown animations while playing this little self-made tutorial. It doesn't feel like this giant monumental task to learn the ins and outs of the game, and the only real trouble I see myself having is remembering button combinations for reversals, but like anything, I'm sure it will come naturally in time. Character entrances are quite spectacular, and yes, I know the focus is on the outfits and the characters being all sexy and whatnot, but there are games out there with less effort put into entrances with it. Holy shit, why is she on a giant frog? With that being said, you'll end up skipping these eventually, so it doesn't really matter. Again, first impressions are good, but there's more to figure out here, because this vow option came up when selecting Dixie Carter, and I have no idea what this is all about. So let's see what's going on. Let's look at the instruction manual. It says, vow system. Yes, there is honour in the game of lusty wenches wrestling in the mud in their thongs. What? For the Rumble Roses, it comes in the form of a vow system, a set of agreements made prior to a match where those who honour their vows earn percentage points to enhance their personalities. With enough enhancement, a character can challenge for a title match, or her alter ego can be unlocked. Initially, all characters start out with a 50% healer face status. The vow system can cause this status to reverse or increase. The character's alter ego is unlocked by reversing her status from face to heal, or vice versa. There are two purposes for using the vow system. Number one, unlock character's alter ego. For example, Reiko Hinamoto at default is a face wrestler with a rating of 50%. By switching her to heal status, her heal alter ego, Rowdy Rico, becomes available. Number 2, qualifying for a title match. Increase the face and heal rating enough to qualify. The face and heal rating can be raised or lowered by setting vows before a match, then successfully honouring those vows in the match. These vows are set in the vow system screen just prior to a match. Alright, so this sounds pretty unique and also pretty awesome. Certain tasks you do during the match can make you shift into a babyface role or a heel role, and from what I gather, successfully changing your role will unlock a new version of your character. On the character select screen, you can tell who's a babyface and who's a heel by the red and blue colour scheme used for each wrestler, so it appears we have quite a lot of unlocking to do. Basically, a vow is promising to do certain things within a match. You can select 3 before the bell rings, but unlocking heel or babyfaces via exhibition will only allow you to play as those alter egos within exhibition mode. You gotta go through the story mode to unlock the alter ego story too, so the game does give you plenty to do in that regard. I've said this in other game reviews, but I'm a sucker for wrestling games that try to do things a bit differently. Even if the ideas aren't executed all that well, I still enjoy seeing developers experiment and get away from the usual stuff we had to endure during this era. So this heel and babyface system is something that I personally really like, though remembering to set up the different vows before a match is going to become a bit of an annoyance, I'd assume. So before tackling story mode with my tackle, I wanted to play a few proper exhibition matches against the CPU, and I don't know if it's because I'm a complete noob, but I struggled quite a bit to begin with. It's not that the CPU is overly relentless, it's because I'm juggling a few wrestling games behind the scenes at the moment at the same time, and it's taken me a little more time to adjust the Rumble Roses control scheme. Being the grapple connoisseur that I am, and being the super serious guy that I am, who takes his wrestling matches super seriously, the jiggles are, I don't know, constantly there, let's say that. I know, that's the whole selling point of the game, but those developers did their absolute best to use camera angles that, well, put it this way, if your opponent takes a move and they're on the mat, it's like the developers said, perfect opportunity, zoom that camera right in and give the player a good look into the void. It's a pretty even blend of pro wrestling and polygonal pussy. You can't have one without the other. And I'd imagine a lot of secondhand embarrassment would come your way if a family member walked in and you had old Rowdy Rico here in a surfboard stretch. That being said, the wrestling within the game isn't all that bad. It's actually pretty fun, and the one-button killer and lethal moves that don't require a setup tends to make Rumble Roses also feel like an arcade game, which is something I like. So to wrap this part up, it's a pretty decent wrestling game where you're going to get accustomed to seeing your character in some compromising and opportunistic states. For me, that's okay. For you, the guy with an overbearing girlfriend and parents who like to watch you play old PS2 games for some reason, you might need to play this one in your dark little garden shed or wherever you conduct your daily nefarious business. The more exhibitions I played, the more I began enjoying the game. You can pull off some pretty nice sequences, and some of the moves look absolutely brutal. So in terms of the in-ring action, I think Rumble Roses is definitely a winner. There are way worse wrestling games than this, and I'm a bit annoyed that I didn't give this a fair chance when it first came out. Now that we've got that out of the way, and now that you know it's a good wrestling game with half-naked women, let's try story mode without giggling every time there's a big pair of melons on the screen. Alright, so I selected Aisha for my first story playthrough. She's a babyface, but she sure does act like a heel. The voice doesn't suit the character at all either.
I'll never get satisfaction until I have her smiling face under my boot.
Aisha has beef with Dixie Carter. She seems to be determined to get some satisfaction, and the only way she can do that is by messing Dixie up in the middle of the ring. To prove how much of a badass she is, she gives us a little dance, and then we have our first match. We then go backstage, we bump into Dixie, and Dixie has no time for a scrub like Aisha. Dixie's here to fight Rico, so Aisha decides to hop on a plane so she can compete in a mad mud match against Candy Kane. And again, Aisha comes across like a heel. We learn that she's a spoilt rich girl and she looks down on those who have no money. So either we have things getting lost in translation, or the developers didn't really care about the storyline aspects of these heels and baby faces. Mud wrestling matches then, here we go. The ring ropes have been removed and you're in this shallow pool filled with mud. Splash around, get yourself and your opponent all muddied up, watch the mud disappear, do it all over again, and that's about it really. You still win via pinfall or submission, you still pull off the same wrestling moves, but you do have these platforms you can jump off for high risk attacks. It's shameless, absolutely shameless. And unfortunately, it's the only other match type that's available in Rumble Roses. Beat up Candy Kane and Anastasia's gonna show up, introducing herself as the assistant and nurse to Lady X, the CEO of the Rumble Roses Wrestling Federation or something. This lady doesn't want to fight you, she's actually quite complimentary towards your jigglies, but I'm sure that's going to change very soon. Back in the arena, you get a match against Miss Spencer, and afterwards you tell Dixie that you're going to mess Rico up. Doing this should be enough to get you a match against your arch nemesis, so Rico's next on Aisha's hit list. So it goes back to the ring to kick some more ass, beat Rico up, and you'll get your match against Dixie. It's here where we learn how this blood feud began and why old Aisha's got a bee in her bonnet. Basically, Dixie was popular in high school and Aisha couldn't get over it. So Aisha did what any self-respecting woman would do. She waited until Dixie became a wrestler so Aisha could challenge her to a fight in the middle of the ring. Turns out Dixie can't fight for shit and she tops out in no time at all. After the match, Aisha and Dixie show some mutual respect, and that's the end of Aisha's story. Or is it? Remember Anastasia from earlier on? Well, she's back and she's being a bit creepy. Apparently she wants your body parts for something. Yeah, this is getting kinda dark. So you're gonna beat up Dr. Frankenstein here, and then you get introduced to Lady X. She kinda reminds me of Kano with big jigglies. We learn when we defeat Lady X that she's got another form, Lady X Substance. This cyborg's no pushover at all. She can even twist her whole body while performing suplexes, and get this, one of her moves is a missile fist. The jokes just write themselves. Lady Substance kicked my ass pretty good, but a rematch saw our hero Aisha rise to the top of the Rumble Roses Championship Wrestling Company. Dixie comes down to help out during the final cutscene. Again, we get some mutual respect between the rival Roses, but both still remain competitive. And that's the end of Aisha's story mode. Or is it? Yes, it is. You're gonna unlock Aisha's heel alter ego Showbiz, and she must be a right nasty piece of work seeing as Aisha was so far stuck up her own ass. We also unlock alternative attires and bikinis, and I don't know, I kinda feel like I have to go through the heel story now, but for some reason I also really want to play Metal Gear Solid 3. Let's restart and see how the heel story plays out. I'm not expecting Shakespeare by the way, but it has to be better than the story we just witnessed. Alright, Showbiz. Aisha's music career went down the toilet and she's now a dancer. A pole dancer, as we had learned from her entrance. She's down and out and she needs to get her popularity back, and you guessed it, the only way she can do that is to beat up other roses in the ring. This sounds more like a babyface angle, doesn't it? Anyway, you don't get a fully fleshed out story for these alter egos. You get a unique opening scene and you get a bit of back and forth before the final match, and that's it. Showbiz fights the heel version of Dixie. Dixie's became a cop, so yeah, that's a pretty big heel move right there, isn't it? Sergeant Clements wants to put Showbiz in jail, and you're not about to let that happen. So beat up Dixie once again, smash her face into the canvas during the final cutscene, and there you go, job done. Because this was so short, I guess I'll have to pick a regular non-alter ego heel to go through story mode, so let's go. This is the last time I'll be playing this mode because I doubt I'll ever come back to Rumble Roses, and if I was that desperate and I wanted to unlock everything, I'd probably just download a save file, which I did. A younger wrestling bios might have been inclined to put in this work, but older wrestling bios is a lot wiser. We'll go with Bloody Shadow this time, and again, this is supposed to be a heel, but her story sounds completely babyface. She works for some mysterious ninja gang and she's under orders to infiltrate Extreme Rumble Roses Wrestling and investigate what's going on. Something's not right with this company, and by God, someone has to see what's up. You fight the BBD, which stands for Big Bodacious Donkey Dick, and Shadow notices a mysterious tattoo that looks all evil and stuff. Where to next then? Straight to the beach for some mud wrestling. Candy loves the mud wrestle and she's not about to give up her job anytime soon. So get the victory and head back to the arenas. Anesthesia catches Shadow snooping around, and it turns out the Doctor of Thugonomics here knows more about Shadow than she's letting on. You then have a match against a lady who accuses you of stealing goats, not even joking. But you notice that this lady and Evil Rose both have that same tattoo. Clearly there's some sort of crazy brainwashing nonsense going on in the wacky world of Rumble Roses. So Rowdy Roddy Rico thinks she can take you out, so you decide to turn into a fucking log and she smashes her skull in half. You then wrestle Evil Rose. Anesthesia says you now work for her and not the super secret ninja society. So you beat up her heel alter ego known as Dr. Cutter along with Lady X and Lady X Substance. The story ends with the babyface version of Evil Rose acting all high and mighty while you remain loyal to the ninja life. I then gave in. I wanted to check if Shadow's alter ego story was as paper thin as Aisha's, so I select Judgment, and yeah, even the cutscene animations are the exact same. If you play through every character's story, you're going to learn more about Lady X and the diabolical scheme she and Anesthesia run behind the scenes. You'll also unlock Lady X and Lady X Substance to play in the game if you complete story mode with every character. You can also just grab a save file from game FAQs that's been patched, allowing heels and babyfaces to be selected in exhibition instead of one or the other. So here's a look at the complete roster with every alter ego. Finally, let's take a look at gallery mode, a place where you can look at character models because you know deep down you really want to. You can change attires here, move the camera into whatever position your filthy mind desires, but if you leave the controller down without pressing any buttons because, you know, you're probably busy, a secret interview mode will begin where you can learn more about the roses, their favourite colour, their favourite places, their measurements. For folks highly interested in Rumble Roses lore, is as deep as it is, this is where you can find out all about the wrestler's personal preferences. The Japanese version has an extended gallery mode. You can watch a few movies here, with one that specifically tells you to keep your pants up while playing the game. Fucking hell. There's a couple of music videos here too, if that's your thing. And there's also an image gallery that was just too much for gamers in America and Europe, I guess. While talking about the Japan release, I'll also mention that there's this creepy dude named Sebastian who can be unlocked, and again, this guy must have been too much for America and Europe. He's quite the character, isn't he? And also something else, when applying submission moves in the Japanese version, you can go into Ultra Perv mode by taking control of the camera. Clearly, Japanese players were having a wonderful time with Rumble Roses. As mentioned earlier, there are more regional differences in Rumble Roses, with many of these centering around entrance music, character names, changes in heels and faces. So if you want to learn more, you can look all this up. I started this video off having no idea what Rumble Roses was like, and I gotta say, it's a good wrestling game. If you enjoyed the SmackDown games during the PS2 era, then you're gonna like this, but do think of Rumble Roses as more of an arcade game. It's a little more limited in terms of game modes and match types, but the action in the ring is really solid, and old school SmackDown fans will feel right at home after getting used to the button layout. It really doesn't take that long. The selling point of the game obviously wasn't how well it played as a grappler, and the stories that I played through in single mode were interesting to say the least. But underneath it all, there's a decent wrestling game here that I actually recommend you play. A sequel got released too, Rumble Roses XX or Rumble Roses 20? I don't know, but I'll give it a go soon and upload a video once I've gotten to grips with it. Rumble Roses XX is still available to purchase on the Xbox store, and it's also backwards compatible, so I'll get it downloaded and try it out in the next Wrestling Bios gaming video. Thanks for watching this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and please take care.
Guess who's back in circulation? Well, I don't know what you may have heard, but what I need right now is the original Good Time Girl. Oh, she's a vision from coast to coast to coast. See the shining sea, see the shining sea. Yes, to the perfect collector. Show me your and your alright. I'm talking about the Yankee Rose. And your alright. I'm talking about it. Yeah!
Okay, Rumble Roses XX, we returned to Jiggle World. We looked at Rumble Roses on PS2 not too long ago, and I wanted to check out the sequel to see what's different and what's been changed. Luckily, the game's backwards compatible on Xbox Series X, so that's what I'll be playing on today, though unfortunately the game doesn't support Auto HDR nor FPS boost. Not a big deal, but it would have been nice. Check out this review left by T5 Buddha not too long ago. Best money I ever spent, 10 out of 10, would recommend. The women do be sexy. If the game comes recommended from T5 Buddha, a man of culture of course, then it's got to be good. I can't wait. The amount of downloadable content's it's a little concerning. These are all outfits for the female cast of Rumble Roses, but we'll dig into all this later in the video. The sequel to Rumble Roses was announced at the 2005 Xbox Summit. Along with Rumble Roses XX, Pro Evo 6 was announced too, and quick side note, I played the hell out of Pro Evo 6 when it got released. Adriano on God mode, if you know, you know. Anyway, Rumble Roses producer Akari Uchida gave an interview to Famitsu Xbox where he said the new Rumble Roses was going to be a completely new game, and the only thing getting carried over were the character names and personalities. He said the previous game had a quote-unquote manga taste, whereas this new version would focus on realism. Tag team matches were going to be a possibility, updated CPU AI was also promised, fights could happen in places away from typical wrestling arenas, and online play was also going to get included. Remember, the Xbox 360 came out at the end of 2005. Rumble Roses XX would release in March 2006. So it's a pretty early 360 game we're dealing with here, and for that reason, you kinda have to put your expectations in check. To whet people's appetites, a demo of Rumble Roses XX was also released, and this is the only experience I have with the game. I played a few matches, I remember thinking it was alright, but I can't remember anything else about the game as I make this video. Let's boot up the game and see what's going on. We have another intro video, and again, the song used at the start of the game is Yankee Rose, a cover version of the David Lee Roth song. Now, this would be fair grounds for people to complain. Rehashing music in a sequel like this does seem a bit, I don't know, a bit lazy, but ever since I made that previous Rumble Roses video, this song's been stuck in my head every single day since, so I'm not complaining. It's actually a pretty good cover, not gonna lie. The intro's a lot shorter than the previous game, by the way. I know I talked about how long the intro was last time around. After the intro, I press new game and I'm instantly brought to the character select screen. I wasn't asked to pick a game mode, I have to pick a rose instead. And the roster's the exact same as last time. There are no new additions and that kinda sucks. We have the baby faces on the top row with the heel alter egos on the bottom row. There's also an edit selection and it looks like we can create our own Rumble Rose if we wish to, but we'll come back to this later. Let's go with Dixie Carter this time and see what's up. Looks like she got a bit of work done. And we're then brought to this menu. Something caught my eye here, not that I was looking, but when they talked about adding realism to the roses, they went as far as adding veins to the Big Mama Jammas. That's commitment right there, folks. We can change character from here, change our tag team partner. There's a photo shoot mode that's not accessible right now. Game snapshot mode, which I guess lets you look at the photos you took. Sound test, records, options, and a customize option that lets you change costumes and the physiques of the existing Rumble Roses. We'll look at all this later. I just want to play a match right now and see what's different, but already I'm getting the feeling that the focus has been put way more on the sexualization more so than the pro wrestling. I guess I have to go to exit and... okay, this is the mode select right here, and I don't think there's a story mode in this game. I can fight in an arena, go back to the locker room, fight in the street, visit a shop to buy some outfits and whatnot. I can fight in the Red Valley, fight on a skyscraper, in a traditional wrestling ring, I assume. Oh hey, at least there's a tutorial this time around, and there's a museum to look at artwork. This is disappointing. I mean, the stories in Rumble Roses weren't exactly brilliant or anything, but at least they give you something else to do. Let's try a standard wrestling match in a wrestling ring. I choose the ring icon and oh, we have a few new match types. A singles match, a PHM match which can only be won with a humiliation move submission. We have got tag, handicap, triple threat, fatal 4, street fights which can only be won via KO, and a queens match. Win the match and give your opponent an order. What's that all about? Let's just have a match already. Dixie Carter versus Rico. On the versus screen we can check some stats out for our characters, and it looks like Dixie's a suplex machine, but her submission game isn't too great. Seeing character stats is an improvement over the previous game, and it also looks like the matches we play will have an effect on character popularity. We go to the arena, and yes, visually Rumble Roses XX is a big upgrade. The arena, the lighting, the fans, the character models, the entrances are as ridiculous as ever, with our cameraman taking every opportunity to get a good old look at the Roses' more intimate parts, but this isn't really surprising after playing the first game. What is a surprise though is seeing how slow Rumble Roses XX plays compared to its predecessor. The speed's been brought down a terrible lot in comparison to the PS2 game, and it feels like the characters are underwater. The button layout's the same. It takes me a while to get to grips with it again, but after a few minutes it was business as usual, and it was all about adapting to the slower game speed. Something else that kinda throws you off is the bloom effect used during matches, at least in this arena. The ring mat glows a lot and there's a heavy amount of blur and bloom placed on everything not in immediate focus. While this certainly helps to minimize imperfections, it's also a bit hard on the eyes at times, which is ironic considering the main focus of this game's half-naked women. I still think it looks better than the previous game overall, but you could argue that the lighting and the background blur were a little overdone. After winning the match, I wanted to see if Dixie and Rico's popularity rankings were affected, and they weren't. So I'm gonna need to work out how to change that in order to unlock alter egos, I guess, I don't know. First impressions are not good though. The slower gameplay isn't as fun, and the lack of story mode isn't ideal either. So, I played a ton of singles matches to get used to the game a bit more. Street fights are pretty interesting. Basically, it turns the game into a fighter where you have to win by depleting your opponent's health bar. It's also easier to get special moves with your special bar filling up a lot quicker. Tag matches are fine. You can pull off double team finishers if both you and your partner have filled up your special meter. The rest is kinda what you'd expect, really. The other venues and locations within the game don't really offer anything except a different backdrop. For example, I thought you'd be able to throw your opponent off the skyscraper or something, but no, you can't. The Queen's match, you've got a choice of orders you can give your opponent if you win the Queen's match. From limbo dancing to a kittenish action, yeah, whatever. Win the match and make your opponent dance or play a penalty game. The dances don't end until you say so yeah. Perv levels are at 100 right here. I also decided to jump into the tutorial to see if there's anything I'm missing, because honestly, there isn't much to this game and it almost feels like a light version of the PS2 release. There are a few things going on under the hood, but these only come into play when selecting venues on the map and not selecting exhibition. For example, it says here changes in physique and muscle tone affect your moveset and abilities. You can also become more flexible apparently, which can affect submission hold damage, but all this depends on what you do when playing the game. The problem here is that it doesn't specifically say what you need to do for these changes to take place, so you end up just winging it. It's not like Rumble Roses XX is a difficult game anyway, so you just ignore all this stuff and you wrestle as normal. I then visited the shop after playing a lot of exhibitions, and I was surprised to find out I had 0 Rumble rupees. So how are you supposed to earn money in this game, and how do I unlock stuff? Well, get this, you gotta stay out of exhibition mode. Completely ignore it. Anything you do in exhibition mode doesn't count towards your overall progress in the game, even though every other selection you can make here that pertains to actually playing the game is also, in essence, an exhibition match. When you win matches by picking a specific location, you'll get rewards for your victories, including altered stats and Rumble rupees. Now, unlocking characters and additional outfits, simply put, is a mess, an absolute fucking mess. A hero by the name of Use My Exciter uploaded a secrets guide to Rumble Roses XX on Game FAQs, and he or she painstakingly detailed the steps needed to unlock stuff in this game, and it's mind-boggling. Aisha, unlock the maid outfit. Take 2 pictures of Aisha in photo mode or start the game up 38 times. Olga outfit, defend the singles title 5 times against Dixie Carter or start up the game 95 times. Are you serious? How do you get title shots in the game? I didn't even know there were championship belts, for crying out loud. There's other random stuff here like team up with Dixie and defend the belt 5 times, or make Aisha do the Samba penalty in a Queen's match. How are you supposed to know these things without looking it up? Sometimes the game won't even offer you a tag match when selecting a location on the map, so you just gotta hope that the match type you're looking for randomly becomes selectable. And look, I know there's a few grown ass men out there who know all this stuff, but for a newcomer, there's 0 information. You're just expected to play the game match after match and hope something happens. To get a title shot, you have to apparently beat everyone in the game, get 15 wins under your belt, your final 3 matches have to be consecutive victories, and then you pray to God that the game gives you a shot at the championship. If there was some sort of progress bar or a reminder of sorts, then it wouldn't be as bad. But no, Rumble Roses XX just wants you to keep playing random exhibitions over and over, making sure to stay away from exhibition mode, mind you, while taking random dirty photos and making your opponents do pervy dances in order to unlock everything. Remember that thing about wrestler physiques changing? Well, here's how that works. As I understand it, you have to perform 10 suplexes with a single character. This gets your suplex rating up, and that unlocks the ability to change physique within the customization menu. How in the name of Jesus Christ are you supposed to know this without looking it up? It might not even be true. That strategy may just have worked for someone else. Well, I've got nothing better to do today, so I'll play 15 matches with Dixie Carter. I'll win them all, and I'll make sure to pull off 10 suplexes, take 1,000 dirty photos, and make Roddy Rico do the samba and fucking outfit number 4, color number 2 at 11 PM on the button while doing a handstand during a full moon. Back in a minute. Okay, some things I picked up on while playing these matches. First of all, it's boring. It's boring as hell, and it makes me yearn for the silly cutscenes that were included in the last game. Secondly, you want to play street fights as much as possible. Street fights are quick and you can go through your opponents quite fast if you stick with street fight mode. However, you won't unlock everything the game has to offer by doing this. I don't care because I have no interest in unlocking everything in Rumble Roses XX. And just on that subject, to the guys and girls out there who 100%ed this game and got all the achievements, I salute you. You have the patience of a saint. Midway through the matches, I was able to get my suplex rating up and I was able to change Dixie's physique. So halfway through, we were controlling Big Mommy Dixie, and I'm not sure if I'm imagining things, but it made the gameplay even slower. Makes sense though, I guess. Picking smaller characters will speed up the in-ring action, but it's still slower than the first Rumble Roses. I also got a reward at a certain point and I was able to unlock a new outfit. Brilliant. And then I took on Lady X to win the Rumble Roses Heavyweight Championship. The credits rolled and I cried. I cried because I wasted my time playing this game. I'm actually shocked at how they messed this up. The first Rumble Roses was a surprisingly good wrestling game, and while it did lack game modes and match types, the in-ring action was pretty fun and the overall tone of the game was quirky enough to keep you entertained. This, on the other hand, feels like a grind from the second you start playing the game, and the sheer randomness of the unlockables makes it feel like you're playing towards nothing. You just kinda hope a reward or a championship match appears on the map, and if you get neither, you just gotta continue the grind. I have a few ideas and a few reasons why the game plays like this though. Firstly, Xbox Live. I looked this up and it appears that the Xbox Live matches count towards your rewards and the unlockables. That might not be true by the way because I couldn't get a match, but if it is, I think Yuke's and Konami wanted to push people into online matches and get the game rewards that way. The first game didn't have any online features at all, so I'm thinking the developers thought people would be more inclined to play online rather than play story modes and whatnot. Secondly, this is a very early Xbox 360 game as mentioned, and maybe there was a bit of a crunch to get this game out. It does feel rushed and it does lack depth, so perhaps deadlines worked against the developers and they just shot this out in hopes that people would buy. It's almost like an expansion of the first Rumble Roses, like you could maybe combine the two games and get something special, but I don't know. It definitely ranks up there as one of the weaker wrestling games I've ever played, and it's a shame too because I enjoyed the first Rumble Roses. All you're doing here is grinding it out to unlock bikinis, and that may be something you enjoy, but I don't have the patience for it. I can't even be asked unlocking the alter egos. If I wanted to unlock Dixie's alter ego, I would have to pick someone else, play another 15 matches or whatever it is, beat Dixie, then get a reward match against the alter ego. That sounds way too much like hard work, especially because I'm playing this game right now for the sake of a YouTube video. But again, if you sat through all this years ago and you 100%ed this game, you are, without a doubt, both a legend and a sick individual. My hat's off to you. We have other stuff to look at before wrapping this one up, so let's go back out to the main menu. The photo mode must be purchased. You have to buy a camera to take snapshots, and what can I say really? It's despicable behaviour and I should be ashamed of myself. While we're in the shop, let's look at the other things we can buy. Artwork's available. Some of it looks like concept art, which is pretty cool, but the steep price means you'll probably buy these last. You can buy more orders or actions for Queen's matches, including penalty games like hula hoop and jump rope. Yeah, actions that make bouncy things even more bouncy. There's also a ton of poses that can be purchased for Queen's matches, and remember, all this stuff costs Rumble rupees. It's good that it's not all locked behind a paywall, but you have to be one determined kid to unlock all this stuff. Swimsuits are available but currently hidden. Probably have to put the disc in backwards and reset your Xbox 30 times to unlock them or some shit. There's also some outfits for the custom roles you can select at the start of the game, but we'll check that in a moment. And I'm pretty sure Lady X and Lady X Substance can be purchased here too once you meet the correct criteria for unlocking. Here's photo mode, and Shameless, absolutely shameless. I wasn't expecting poses to be like this, but there you have it. Grab some photos of your favourite rows and you can view them again in the snapshot menu. Apparently you can share these too on Xbox Live, so that makes your monthly subscription totally worth it. If we go back out to the character select, we can choose the custom wrestler. We can change things like her name, her wrestling style, we can change her appearance and outfit, but remember, you gotta grind it out to unlock alternate attires. All this game rewards you with is alternate attires really, or dirty filthy poses, or orders for the Queen's matches. Yes, there are alter egos to unlock, and you'd probably unlock all these alter egos as you try to grind for everything else, but I just can't imagine anyone ever wanting to do that, especially nowadays. Remember too, this game has costumes via DLC. If for whatever reason all the poses, outfits, bikinis, alternate colours and different attires isn't enough, then you can spend real money to unlock more. So I have no idea what Konami and Yuke's were thinking here. The wrestling takes a seat way at the back and the jigglies are front and centre, smack bang right in your face. You can also check out records here, and there's a section for unlock rate. For all the time I put into Dixie's title chase, I only unlocked 2.1% of her gear. It would have been nice if it told us how to unlock the additional content in this menu, but no. Do a bunch of random nonsense and you might get something. Other than that, you can check game FAQs, or literally turn your Xbox on and off hundreds of times to unlock items. I've nothing else to say really, so I have to cut this one short. I wish I had more and I wish this game had more, but it's just not good. It's annoying. There's probably stuff I've missed here, there's maybe other ways of unlocking items, and it's maybe not as convoluted as I understand it to be, because it's even surprising to me how much is expected from the player here. But you quickly reach the point of not caring too much once you actually start playing the game. I could definitely look over all the shortcomings if Rumble Rose's XX had good in-ring action, but the gameplay just isn't as fun as the first game on older hardware. So this one does not come recommended, and I highly suggest playing the PS2 game instead. Thank you for watching though, and please take care. Hey everyone, just a quick one today and nothing too in-depth. I wanted to show you something I came across while looking up Super Nintendo wrestling games, and I think some of you may find this interesting. Recently I ordered myself a region-free Super Famicom. There's a ton of wrestling games I want to look at that were only released in Japan, and the Super Famicom has a lot of these games to offer. What's more, they're pretty cheap, cheaper than buying some European or North American titles on eBay and auction sites. But there's one big caveat, a pretty obvious caveat. All these games will be in a language that I don't understand. My plans to use game FAQs and similar sites to help me get by. It'll be a little tedious to start off with, but I think it'll be worth it so I can cover games on the channel that aren't talked about all that much. One of the games I was looking into was Gekitou Pro Wrestling, a Fire Pro Wrestling clone that uses a different, more traditional camera angle. The game itself doesn't look like much. Honestly, this looks like something you'd see on an 8-bit system like the NES, but looks can be deceiving. What's impressive about Burnin' Pro Wrestling is the amount of options available to the player, the amount of familiar wrestlers that are in the game, and a lot of little gameplay additions that American and European wrestling games of this era simply didn't offer. Even better, there's a patch for the game that translates everything into English, so I thought I'd play a few games and show you guys the roster available while I wait for the other Japanese wrestling games to arrive in the post. This patch can be played on a real Super Nintendo or Super Famicom if you have an EverDrive, and with the amount of ROM hacks, English patches, and good homebrew releases for the Super Nintendo, there's really no reason not to own an EverDrive at this point, so just look up the patch and you'll be able to play this without checking game FAQs every 5 minutes. Burnin' Pro Wrestling was developed by Yuki Yotei, and please forgive my pronunciation throughout all this video. Yuki Yotei was founded by former Capcom employee Kenshi Naruse. Kenshi had done some design work on the Gargoyle's Quest games on the Game Boy and the NES, and his Yuki Yotei company would develop a few pretty well-known games thanks to partnerships with other developers. They worked with Sony ImageSoft on Hook for the Super Nintendo, one of my favourite platformers on the system. They also developed Skyblazer on the Super Nintendo, and I feel that game's kinda like Hook's spiritual successor, and it's also one of the Super Nintendo's most underrated platformers. They developed the Spawn video game on Super Nintendo, and they also worked with SNK to develop Neo Geo Pocket versions of Metal Slug, Bust-a-Move, and Samurai Showdown. The final original game developed by Yuki Otei was a PlayStation 1 release named Punky Skunk, and honestly, I'd never heard of this game until researching the developer. Reviews are pretty negative for this one, and I didn't think too much of it either when capturing footage for this video, although to be honest, I didn't play it for too long either. So Kenshi had worked on some pretty notable titles during the 8 and 16-bit eras, and if you don't fancy playing Burning Pro Wrestling, the least you can do is check out Sky Blazer or even Hook on the Super Nintendo if you haven't done so already. Burning Pro Wrestling was released in 1995, Bulletproof Software published the game, and the development team were obviously trying to capitalize on the success of the Fire Pro Wrestling games. Even the name would be enough for a lawsuit, but nonetheless, Burning Pro Wrestling would change things up by changing the camera angle around and making things a bit more user-friendly. We'll get into gameplay in a moment, but Burning Pro Wrestling also does a few things that other wrestling games didn't do at the time, and this one's a case of not judging a book by its cover or judging a game based on its graphics. Let's go through the roster first of all before we look at gameplay. Originally, this game was not licensed by any wrestling company at all, and therefore the names were changed to avoid legal troubles. The heroes who worked on this patch have restored the proper names, and what we end up with is a very robust and varied roster that has more than enough to appease Grapple fans. All Japan and New Japan get the most love, with guys like Kenta Kobashi, Jumbo Tsuruta, Steve Williams, Dan Crawford, and Doug Furnace making it into the game for All Japan. New Japan has guys like Tatsumi Fujinami, Riki Choshu, Masahiro Chono, and the Steiner brothers. Just look at all the names here, you'd be absolutely satisfied if the game only included All Japan and New Japan. Representing Wrestle and Romance, you've got guys like Tenryu, Gedo, and Ultimo Dragon available to play as. And then there's an American roster that consists of WWF and WCW guys, including Hulk Hogan, Bret Hart, Sting, Rick Rude, and The Undertaker. AAA and CMLL are represented by Del Santo, Dos Caras, Mil Mascaras, and others. For FMW, you've got Onita, Mr. Pogo, Tarzan Goto, Big Titan, and the Gladiator. Michinoku Pros also represented in the game, and you've got the Great Suzuki, Takamichinoku, and Terry Boy. We know Terry Boy better as Teo from Kai and Tai. His name was a tribute to Terry Funk. And speaking of Terry Funk, he's available in the independent roster along with Kendo Nagasaki, Rusher Kimura, Bruiser Brody, and Tiger Jeet Singh. That not enough for you? No? Well, here's a small Fighting Network Rings roster including Akira Maeda and Volkan. Check out Maeda's match against Dutch Mantell sometime and listen to Dutch talk about what happened in that match. It's pretty interesting. UWF Internationals here with Gary Albright and Nobuhiko Takada available for selection. There's also a small Pancrase roster with some big names: Masakatsu Funaki, Minoru Suzuki, Ken Shamrock, and Baz Rutten. Finally, you've got K1 represented by Ray Sefu, Sam Greco, and Rickson Gracie. Guys, that's some roster. I know these aren't licensed wrestlers, and I know some liberties have been taken in regards to wrestlers' attires, but it's still impressive. You didn't necessarily need a patch to change superstar names. There is an edit mode where you can fix the names up yourself, but having it all done for you as soon as you play the game is nice. I want to show you this too, just in case you were thinking the roster's a bunch of different skins. Each wrestler has their own stats based on 10 different variables. They also have their own movesets, including character-specific special moves, and most are accurate in regards to the respective wrestlers. And each wrestler behaves differently depending on the situation they're in and their overall temperament during different points in the match. Again, this game doesn't look like much, but there's a lot going on under the hood. Okay, let me show you the basics. Now, this will only be the basics, I'm afraid, because I only started playing this game a few days ago and I'm still trying to learn myself, but it is quite a user-friendly game once you have a few matches. First, let's take a look at the Super Nintendo controller layout. Here's what you need to remember. Y is for light attacks, B is for medium attacks, and A is for strong attacks. These three buttons work the same way for every situation in the game, with Y also acting as your button for climbing the ropes and getting in and out of the ring. X is your Irish whip and run button, and really, that's all you need to get started. Oh yeah, the L button performs pin attempts. If you aren't walking into your opponent to lock up, you can strike your opponent using Y, B, or A, but you're going to find it harder to land hard strikes due to the slower startup times. The same's true for grapple moves, but there's a bit more to grapple moves than just locking up and tapping a button. Guys and girls who played the Fire Pro Wrestling games will know the drill here. You walk into your opponent to lock up, and then you have to be very specific in terms of timing your lock-up move. If you miss the small window to tap the next button, then you're going to get countered. Also, you need to wear your opponent down before you can attempt medium and strong grapples. You gotta work your way up to the bigger moves, but this doesn't really bother you too much because the build up to bigger moves is pretty fast. Beat your opponent up enough and they're going to enter rage mode where their stats are highly boosted and new moves also get temporarily unlocked. You can leave the ring too to pick up weapons from the crowd, and you can bust your opponent wide open, but be careful, we have a strict referee. The ref will even count you down and disqualify you if you stay on the top rope too long, or if you don't let go of submission holds. And speaking of the referee, I might be wrong here, but I believe this might be the first game where players can control the referee and officiate a match. To perform a special move, you'll also use the A button, the strong button, and the wrestler you select will determine where you need to be to perform a finisher. That's about all you need to know. You will get by knowing that information. Is it better than Fire Pro? No, it isn't. Fire Pro had more customization options going on, and you get way more satisfaction out of getting good at Fire Pro compared to Burning Pro. Burning Pro is much easier than Fire Pro and much more forgiving in terms of timing, but that doesn't mean that Burning Pro isn't fun. Put it this way, if all you played on the Super Nintendo in regards to wrestling games were the WWF offerings and the abysmal WCW Super Brawl game, then you're gonna have fun with this. Take it from someone who also, at the time, only played the WWF and WCW games. Matches aren't too long at all, they don't overstay their welcome, and it's almost like the developers knew to play within their limitations here and offer up matches that don't take forever. But just like how there's plenty going on with the wrestlers and all the different variables we've got for each wrestler, there's also a lot of variables in other aspects of the game. So let's go out and let's take a look. Okay, so here's the game's main menu. As you can see, we have quite a few options, but let's look at exhibitions first. Understanding how exhibitions are set up helps for understanding other modes within the game. This right here is the exhibition menu. Let's work our way down over on the left hand side. We have a rule set menu, but more on that in a moment. We can have 1-on-1, 2-on-2, or 3-on-3 matches. Company allows someone to stand in your corner and interfere if they need to. You can select how many falls are in a match, you can select a time limit, and you can also choose a referee. Now, back to the rule set. You can choose from a range of different rules that are dependent on each promotion, although they aren't totally accurate to real life. But changing the rule set of each promotion will alter how a game plays. For example, in Pancrase, you won't be pinning your opponent as normal. You'll compete in MMA rules where the first person to score 5 points wins. There's a ban on top rope moves, there's no ring outs, and there's no traditional grappling like you just saw in the how to play section of this video. Other promotions retain the standard rules of Japanese promotions with slight alterations. So for example, the American promotion has a ban on top rope moves. They must have taken inspiration from Bill Watts in WCW. There's also an option to set your own match rules and alter things the way you want to, but you will have to follow each promotion's rule sets in other modes in the game. So now that you understand that each promotion has different play styles, let's check out the other game modes. Survival mode is actually a Survivor Series mode. You can play 4-on-4 elimination tag matches here, though only 4 men total will be on the screen at any given time. Battle mode's a battle royal, 6 wrestlers in the ring at any given time, up to 18 wrestlers can enter the match, and eliminations happen after pinfall, submission, or disqualification. This mode can get quite frantic, and I struggled a bit when trying it for the first time, but it's still pretty fun. There's a tournament mode that offers a standard elimination style tournament, whereas league modes, a round robin style tournament where players compete for the best score from match victories. And then there's the World War mode. It's not a 60-man 3-ring over the top battle royal, unfortunately. It's the main single player mode of the game, and seriously, you would have been thankful that the original cartridge offered a battery backup save, because this mode takes forever. World War mode is quite different from any other single player experience I've played in a wrestling game. Inside World War, there are 2 additional modes, the circuit and the challenge. You can't pick challenge right away, that mode's locked up and inaccessible until you play circuit mode. In circuit mode, you're going to compete in 9 different promotions from all around the world, and if you can win every championship the game has to offer, you can then move on to challenge mode. In circuit mode, each promotion, which hasn't been fully translated yet unfortunately, has a selection of tournaments and leagues on offer. Whatever tournament or league you pick, it doesn't matter, just win it and you'll win that promotion's championship belt. So you've got some choices in terms of singles, tag, round robin and standard tournament. Once you've won every belt possible, you'll then unlock challenge mode, and challenge mode is a no-nonsense, straight-up arcade mode where you'll have to wrestle 116 opponents, every single wrestler included in Burning Pro Wrestling. What's more, the difficulty ramps up with each and every match, with the game mode coming to an end in All Japan Pro Wrestling. To keep things fresh, the game will change the rules every now and then within a matchup, and yes, you will have to compete in MMA matches too, so you'll need to put in quite some time to see the game's true ending sequence. For a game that doesn't look like much when you see gameplay in a YouTube video, trust me when I say there's a lot to do here, and things don't feel too repetitive in World War mode because you have the different promotions, the different rules, and the different choices regarding what kind of tournament you want to compete in each promotion. Yes, challenge mode is long, but it's the kind of game you can play 10 matches or so before switching off and coming back to it later. Your opponents all have different moves too, so you will see new things in each match. It is quite a shame that the whole game doesn't look a little prettier though. So, should you rush out to buy Burning Pro Wrestling along with a Super Famicom and never drive to play it? Nah, probably not. Should you at least try it on an emulator and give it an hour or so of your time? Honestly, you've seen most of what the game has to offer right here in this video, and you'd only really play through it to see some of the movesets. It's not a game I tell people to hunt down at all, but it is a game I thought would be good to show you guys in form of a YouTube video. If you looked at screenshots of this game or a Let's Play video with no commentary, then you might dismiss it right away because of how it looks, but there's plenty here that would please fans of 90s wrestling, and even more so if you're into All Japan, New Japan, Japanese hardcore and shoot hybrid wrestling. It's something I enjoyed looking at, and it's a game I'm going to play through during downtime just to finish challenge mode, but I don't think it would have huge mass appeal, and that's why you probably never heard of it either, to be fair. That being said, I am looking forward to receiving some other Japanese wrestling games in the post soon, though I think the shipping times are going to be crazy. I know everyone knows about Fire Pro, and it's not necessarily the Fire Pro games I'm looking forward to. There's a couple of New Japan and All Japan games that I hadn't seen in action until recently, and honestly, I can't wait to play some of these properly and put together some videos. I could always emulate them too, and truth be told, the footage you just watched today from Burning Pro was captured via an emulator, but I want to get that old school console experience when trying out the New Japan games for the first time, and I'm also actively avoiding reviews and spoilers of the games so I can learn about them myself and draw my own conclusions. So if you're into this kind of thing and you want to discover these games for the first time, like the way I'll be doing whenever the games arrive, then keep an eye on the channel. If you want to see me stumble through other more well-known games, then also check out the Wrestling Bios arcade that opened up recently on Patreon. The arcade series won't ever get uploaded to YouTube, so if that sounds like something you'd like, then go check it out. That's going to do it for now. I'll wait for these games to arrive in the post, and I'll get the Super Famicom all set up and ready to go. Thanks for watching guys, and take care.
Get ready to fly. They look scared, no, they don't really want none. Get ready to fly.
TNA Impact released all the way back in September 2008 for PlayStation 2, Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. We'll be checking out the PlayStation 3 version today. The game was developed by Midway Studios Los Angeles and published by Midway Games. Many of the folks who worked on Impact would also work on the excellent WWE All-Stars after Midway filed for bankruptcy. And before Impact, the development team worked on the Backyard Wrestling games as Paradox Development. Let's not also forget that Midway were responsible for WrestleMania the arcade game, but of course it was a completely different team within Midway who brought us that delightful arcade fighter. So Impact does tie in with other pro wrestling games that you might have already played. An IGN article from way back in 2005 states that EA and Rockstar were in talks at one point to develop TNA Impact, but TNA ultimately went with Midway. You can only imagine what a Rockstar wrestling game could look like, but it wasn't meant to be. TNA Impact would try to offer fans an alternative to Yuke's SmackDown vs. Raw 2008 that would release shortly after TNA's debut game. By this point, the SmackDown games were definitely refined, but some would argue that they were also getting, well, a little boring and a little repetitive. So TNA Impact had the potential to excite players with something new and something different. There was definitely potential here, and you'll see this through the behind-the-scenes clips featured in the game. Characters' faces and bodies were scanned, with Midway wanting wrestlers to look authentic as possible. Multiple wrestlers were also brought in for motion capture, and you can just tell that the team were very enthusiastic about putting this game together. At least that's the impression you get when watching the development clips. Boot up the game and you'll get an excellent intro video followed by a very clean menu system. The roster includes 17 wrestlers you can choose from right away, along with 14 unlockable wrestlers. Additionally, there's some original characters that are unlockable made specifically for this game. Right away though, you can pick from AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle, Sting, Christian Cage, Booker T, Hernandez, Homicide, Rhino, Sharkboy, Robert Roode, Scotty Steiner, Alex Shelley, Christopher Daniels, James Storm, Chris Sabin, and Brother Devon. To unlock everything in the game, you'll need to play through story mode and also accumulate style points. And as you play through the game, along with the wrestlers, you'll also unlock venues and new moves for Create a Wrestler. Mike Tenay, Curryman, and Petey Williams were downloadable characters for the game too. And one of the original characters that was unlockable in TNA Impact was Afro Thunder from the Ready to Rumble games. Unlockable TNA wrestlers included Brother Ray, Abyss, Eric Young, Low Key, Jeff Jarrett, Kevin Nash, Sanjay Dutt, Tomko, and Jay Lethal. The late Don West was also a playable character. We're going to look at everything the game has to offer, including the whole story mode, but let's get straight into the ring first of all, and I'll show you how to play TNA Impact. It's a little unconventional. Standard kicks and punches are performed with the X button and the square button. The triangle button lets you perform what the game calls a power move. You have a few at your disposal depending on if you press the button on its own or if you walk towards or away from your opponent. If you want to lock up, you need to hold the modifier button, and this is where I think TNA Impact gets it a little wrong. We'll come back to the modifier in a moment. From a lockup, you can strike your opponent, perform an Irish whip, or pull off your finisher. You can do finishers once your impact meter fills up. So just to recap that, you need to hold the L1 modifier button, press the triangle button to lock up, and then press O to perform the finisher. That's quite a few button presses for something that should be pretty simple, you know? The modifier button's used to also pull off stronger punches and kicks, and this also comes into play when running or trying springboard attacks. So if you want to springboard, you're going to hold in R2 to run, L1 for the modifier, and then press the face button to execute the move. Picking an opponent up from the mat, yeah, you're going to have to hold in the modifier button for that too. It's a mess in terms of controls, but you will obviously get better after playing more matches, and the control scheme will soon become second nature. But there's also buttons on the controller not used for anything at all, so it makes you wonder why Midway Studios LA went in this direction. R1's your counter button, and the timing is fair for counter moves, but be warned, the CPU likes to reverse a lot, especially on harder difficulty levels. Circle's your general action button for getting in and getting out of the ring, performing specials, tagging in your partner, and yes, you hold that modifier in too, just to tag. It's not great in terms of controls, but again, you will get used to it eventually. Finally, there's a stun meter too. Deplete this to stun your opponent, giving you a chance to do some serious damage without having to worry about getting countered. Do use this to your advantage though, because when you up the difficulty level, timing stun can secure you victories. So how does it all flow and how does it actually play when facing opponents? Let's set up a few matches and I'll talk about some of the pros and some of the cons. I remember thinking at the time that TNA Impact looked really good. The graphics for the time were great. Character models looked especially good. The arena lighting in the Impact Zone is very vibrant, and even if it doesn't match what we see on TV, it still works for a video game. Entrances feel a little incomplete, unfortunately. We only see the wrestlers make their way to the ramp before it cuts off, so that's a shame. But overall, the atmosphere and match presentation in TNA Impact is good in my opinion. Playing the game itself, it's not as bad as what others make it out to be. There is a learning curve to this game and it can be frustrating at times. You're going to deal with some dodgy hit detection with your moves and actions just failing to do anything even though you're in the right position. You also have that modifier button to contend with where you'll have to train yourself to use it when needed, which is unfortunately around 70% of the time you're actually playing a match. But overcome these things and there is a game here that again isn't as bad as what others would make you believe. I get the feeling that loads of the video reviews you see online are from people who play the game just to capture enough footage for a YouTube video and then they repeat statements from deep in the echo chamber. TNA Impact is not perfect, far from it actually. It can be quite frustrating to get to grips with because most actions require additional work, and when you compare this effort to the usually straightforward controls found in the SmackDown games, then it makes Impact look even worse. But I really don't think Impact's that bad once you spend a decent amount of time with it. Something I really like about the game is the aerial attacks. High flying moves look spectacular in TNA Impact. Picking the smaller guys and jumping around the ring is a whole lot of fun, but again, the CPU will counter you a lot, so be careful. General grapple moves are seriously limited, but the ones that are here look good. Submissions are handled quite well with a QTE system, although they're not very important. CPU logic during multi-man matches seems to be on point. And another thing I like is the style system that's been put in place. Basically, you're gonna get style points for pulling off certain moves, but if you pull off the same move too many times in a short time span, then you'll get less points. It's the kind of game that Davey Boy Smith would absolutely hate, but this forces the player to try and change things up. Style points are used for unlockables, so this isn't just a random score you'll get after completing matches. Having varied wrestling matches will help you unlock stuff a lot quicker. The problem here though is that TNA Impact has limited move options to begin with. Spamming the same moves can happen completely unintentionally because you don't have that many choices anyway, especially when it comes to grapples. So you'll want to try and change things up and only go back to the same moves once a little time's passed. All in all, I think there's just as many positives with Impact as there is negatives, and while this doesn't make for a great game, it also doesn't make for a terrible one. In terms of playable matches though, there really isn't a whole lot here. You can have singles matches, tag matches, submission matches, falls count anywhere matches, fatal 4-ways are available too, and we've also got the Ultimate X match that is good, but it could have been better. It's a nice diversion from standard matches, and it's good that one of TNA's signature matches got included in the game, but there's not a lot to it really. Climb up, try to grab the X by pressing the button at the right time, and also make sure your opponent doesn't grab the X by pulling him down from the ropes, kicking him down while you yourself climb up, or performing diving attacks. Honestly, you'll quickly learn how to win these every time, and it's way more suited to multiplayer. Online play was once available, but there were two common complaints with playing against others around the world. One, players couldn't use created wrestlers, and two, if you paused the game and quit out of the match, it wouldn't get counted as a loss. Folks who played TNA Impact are going to remember story mode quite well, and that's not because of what you do in story mode, but rather because of the character you play as. Suicide was an original character made just for the game, and this is the guy we're going to take from the minor leagues all the way up to the main event. But what's noteworthy about this is that this video game character would also become a real wrestler on TNA television following the release of the game. Let's take a look at what he got up to though in the TNA Impact story mode. The thing I remember about story mode was just how good the cutscenes looked, and I'd even say they were better than the WWE's offerings at the time. Cutscenes feel a bit more cinematic here in TNA Impact, and it would remind you of Def Jam Vendetta and Def Jam New York story mode in terms of how it's presented. Our guy, who we're going to call Sue from this point on, so YouTube stupid bots don't think I'm talking about something else, was once on his way to the top in TNA and he got himself a title shot. LAX, however, wanted Sue to to job out and lay down on the mat. Sue went ahead and he won the TNA Championship, so LAX decided to wreck our hero and try to put him out for good. Sue went missing. He woke up to find himself in a rundown a medical facility in Mexico, and he only has to deal with Mexican Mike Tenay and Mexican Don West performing surgery to get him back on his feet. After this cutscene, we're brought to the main menu and we don't have a lot of choices. We can continue story mode or modify our look and moveset. I'll go in here though and fix our character up a bit. Yeah, no one will ever know. So Sue becomes Doink Hogan. He's forgotten everything about himself, but he has this unwavering desire to bust heads. So he gets in the ring and he becomes the king of the Mexican gauntlet match when he defeats local heroes El Grosso, Nightwolf and Fernandez. Doink Hogan is clearly not a guy you want to mess around with, especially if he can beat these main eventers so easily. From here, you get an opportunity to cross the border and get an indie match at an armory. James Storm appears for a match too, and if you can beat Storm, you'll get a chance to wrestle at a TNA event. At this point, Doink Hogan still doesn't realize he's really Sue. He thinks he's an all-American hero, and he sometimes gets these feelings that things won't work for him, brother. Sue arrives at the Impact Zone with another bunch of jobbers. Kevin Nash organises a few matches, with the winner getting a match against Jay Lethal. Defeat Lethal and you can hang out in the TNA locker room and get yourself a guaranteed match on television. Gotta say too, Jay's character model looks great. After competing these empty arena matches and after Kevin Nash lets you stay in the smelly Impact Zone dressing room, you'll go on to beat Robert Roode and Jim Cornette will sign you to a TNA deal. That was pretty quick. But then some bozo who calls himself Beardy McGee, not making that up by the way, smashes your head against the ring post a few times and he tells you to watch your back. Big Kev thinks you could do with a tag team partner, so he's enlisted Eric Young as your new best friend for life. This leads to a few tag team matches against the finest jobbers TNA has to offer, including Beardy McGee and a guy who calls himself King Tat. So even though Doink Hogan's already made some enemies, at least he's got himself some stable work. You'll eventually beat the Dudleys and Eric botches a promo while Christy Hemme reveals your tag team name, the Salty Biscuits. And for some reason, you go back to wrestling jobbers after beating Devon and Brother Ray. Eventually, you'll win a pretty tough match against AJ Styles and Tomko, but then you get jumped by LAX again. During this beatdown, Doink Hogan starts to remember what happened to him, but he doesn't remember all of it. Big Sexy then books you on a tour of Japan, and it's at this point you start getting seriously fed up with wrestling tag team matches. In Japan, it's more of the same. More tag team matches, only this time it's in front of a very polite audience. Give the developers credit here, this is quite the attention to detail. In Japan, you'll face more jobbers along with Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, the Motor City Machine Guns, and then Big Kev gets you a title shot against LAX. If you lose the match though, you're going to be forced to break up with Eric Young, and it's maybe the one time Doink Hogan wanted to do the JOB. So you go back to the Impact Zone to face Homicide and Hernandez. You win the belts, but then a shadowy figure sends the Fallen Angel and AJ Styles down to beat you up. Eric ends up in hospital, so you forfeit the belts after like 10 seconds, and Daniels talks about paying for your sins or some nonsense, I don't know. So now it's all about finding out who this shadowy jagoff is while going back to singles matches. Next up, you join TNA's X Division and it's more jobbers, even El Grosso's made it to TNA. After unlocking Sanjay Dutt, you'll once again run into Christopher Daniels and he tells Hogan to abide by the Fallen Angel and whatever other goofs behind all this. Doink Hogan panics and he runs back to Japan, but did you know that all this going back and forth to the east coast of Asia is actually adding more days to Hulk Hogan's year? Doesn't matter though, because this isn't really Hulk Hogan. Or is it? Brother! You'll face more generic wrestlers here in Japan, and you then realise that this story mode is seriously padded out. Wrestling nobodies is fine at the start of story mode, but it shouldn't be happening this late in the game. Eventually, the phenomenal AJ Styles shows up in Japan, and you're going to beat the phenomenal fuck out of him in order to continue story mode. Samoa Joe stands at the entranceway after the match, and look at that face. My god. So, was Samoa Joe the big shadow man, or was it someone else? You head back to the States, gaining more days on the Hulk Hogan calendar. Big Nash sends a message that you just show up to wrestle, you do not go into the locker room for any reason at all. You're thrown straight into an Ultimate X match against another jobber in another one. The good thing about this though is the fact that it lets you develop a strategy for Ultimate X, and the winning strategy is actually pretty simple. Just back off when the opponent goes for the X, let him start the mini game, then kick him off. Rinse and repeat until you win the match. So you end up going to the locker room because you just can't listen to good advice. Jeff Jarrett approaches Doink Hogan. He says, "At Bound for Glory, I can get a shot at the X Division title, but I'm up against Christopher Daniels and Samoa Joe. It's gonna look like a triple threat, but it's really a 2-on-1 match." Jarrett also mentions dumping Doink Hogan in Mexico if he doesn't do what he's told. So was Double J responsible for Sue turning into Doink Hogan? We get to the pay-per-view and Joe ends up attacking Daniels. Joe lets Hogan grab the belt, so Joe has joined up with Team Nash it seems. We go back to the locker room and Jarrett's standing there with LAX and Double J calls Doink a dumbass. Apparently, I have to obey by Double J. He threatens to wreck Eric Young if Hogan doesn't fall in line, and we've even got a Polaroid of poor Eric gagged in some dirty old dungeon. Jarrett wants our hero to join the heavyweight division. I have to win the belt from Kurt Angle, and then I'm gonna drop it to Jarrett. Hogan can't tell Nash or anyone else for that matter what's gonna happen, so now I'm a dirty, filthy heel. Jarrett gets our hero a match against Rhino. Yeah, he wants me to win the world belt, yet I gotta fight dudes like Rhino. Good idea, Double J. Nash is all annoyed that I'm hanging out with Jeff, but my god, someone needs to save Eric Young. Booker T's up next as the competitors now start getting a lot harder. The icon Sting even wants a piece of Doink Hogan as we relive Starrcade 97. The Monster Abyss steps up just to get knocked down, as does Christian Cage. And even though you try your best to avoid Nash and Joe, you just know that no good stinking hyena Double J is gonna make you fight your best buds. Kevin Nash takes a beating on Impact, Samoa Joe gets it at the pay-per-view, and finally we make it to Las Vegas for our title shot against Angle. LAX let us see more photos of Eric Young, and my, what are they doing to poor Eric? This is a man who needs saved ASAP. So we beat Kurt, we win the championship, and Doink Hogan's memory comes back. He remembers that he isn't really Hulk Hogan, he's a man named Sue, and he catches on that Double J and LAX are responsible for dumping him in a ditch in Mexico. So Double J arranges a meeting in the middle of the ring, and he says we've got to drop the belt or Homicide and Hernandez are going to mess Eric up. Sue speaks and Jarrett realizes that this isn't Doink, but rather the guy he dropped off in Mexico a few months back. So the fight's on in the Impact Zone. Double J does not mess around. His stats have been boosted to a seriously unfair level, but you'll pull through and you'll pin Jarrett to beat the game. Sue told Joe and Nash what Jarrett did to Eric before you met Double J in the ring, so our boys went and saved our damsel in distress while you took care of Jarrett in the ring. Honestly, story mode was dragging slightly, and it's a good thing it wasn't any longer. But there you go, TNA Impact story mode completed. Finally, let's take a look at some extra features in the game. Here's the Create a Wrestler mode that I know lots of people would be interested in. I always make a point to say that I'm no expert in Create a Wrestler, and all I really judge this on is the amount of items available for customization. And there's not a terrible lot if I'm honest, but I'm sure others could get creative. Just make Doink Hogan and you're grand. The TNA Extras section's pretty good though. AJ Styles, Christopher Daniels, Jay Lethal and Samoa Joe will teach you how to play the game, and yes, the guys provided voiceovers. Also in the extras, you can check out some exclusive behind the scenes videos that are actually quite in depth. You can check out the whole roster and learn a little about the superstars you unlocked, and then you've got a TNA highlights section where you can watch some full matches. Yeah, a couple of matches have been included from start to end, and that's a nice bonus. All in all, you can tell this game was at foundation level. If this was going to be what future TNA games were built on, then I'd say the future was looking pretty bright. The gameplay does become limited and you eventually learn how to win matches fairly easy. The more you play, the more you can exploit the CPU, and it does make things a bit repetitive, but improvements could have been made with future releases. 2 players probably a blast on TNA Impact. I don't know, no one wanted to play this when I owned it to be honest, and I still have my copy to to this day, but even if someone did fancy a few matches, they really would need to take time to learn some controls. It's not as pick up and play as the SmackDown games at the time, so you're gonna have more fun playing with someone else who also got sick of destroying the CPU. TNA Impact, in my opinion, definitely does not deserve the harsh criticism it receives. Could sequels from the same developer improved on what was offered the first time around? You'd like to think so, but unfortunately there was no true sequel, and instead TNA fans got an updated handheld port for the Sony PSP and Nintendo DS. TNA Impact crossed the line. These handheld games were published by South Peak Games, the guys who acquired the exclusive rights to publish TNA games when Midway LA filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy, and in the very near future I will cover both handheld ports in an upcoming video. But that'll do it for this one. I'd recommend TNA Impact if you're looking for something a bit different. It won't blow you away with deep gameplay, the controller layout feels a little messy when you first play it, but you can do way worse when it comes to wrestling games. Brother. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care. Backyard Wrestling, Don't Try This at Home, and Backyard Wrestling 2, There Goes the Neighborhood. Two games that let players compete in no-holds-barred backyard shenanigans, in two games I've actually never played. For whatever reason, I had absolutely no interest in playing the Backyard Wrestling games, and I'm not sure if that's because of the mediocre reviews, the lame box art, the lack of big names available in the titles, or maybe I just didn't see the games while browsing store shelves. I'm a pretty big fan of the Def Jam games, and Def Jam Fight for New York could also be described as a wrestling game that took the action away from the ring to blend in street fighting with grapples and all that good stuff. So the concept of backyard wrestling should be right up my alley. I know the game didn't score well in reviews, but that's about all I know. I watched gameplay years ago and I totally forget what the game even looks like now. So I'm going into this one pretty fresh with no real idea what to expect. I have no nostalgic attachment to these games, I don't have a history with these games, and I don't have any preconceived thoughts about the games. I'm going to play for a bit, write down my thoughts, turn it into a script, and put together the video you're watching right now. The only thing I will research is the game's developers. So let's take a look at Paradox Development before getting started. Paradox Development, the guys behind the Backyard Wrestling games, would eventually become known as Midway Studios Los Angeles. They were responsible for Thrill Kill on PS1, a game that got a ton of attention due to publisher EA's decision not to release the game due to its graphic imagery. The game was leaked online though, and practically everyone who had a modded PS1 had a copy of Thrill Kill. The fact that the game was cancelled only made it more notorious. Eventually, Thrill Kill got reskinned and the game was released as Wu-Tang Shaolin style, or Wu-Tang Taste of Pain in Europe, but the legacy of Thrill Kill lived on as one of the most noteworthy cancellations in video game history. The company would go on to develop the X-Men Mutant Academy games, X-Men Next Dimension, and as Midway Studios LA, they also developed Mortal Kombat Shaolin Monks and TNA Impact. So there you go, Backyard Wrestling and TNA Impact had the same developers, under different names of course. Backyard Wrestling was released in late 2003, it was published by Eidos Interactive, and seeing as SmackDown Here Comes the Pain was released in the same year, it had some stiff competition. I don't expect a wrestling game here by the way, I expect a fighting game with wrestling elements. But enough of all that, let's take a closer look and actually play a few matches. Alright, so I boot up the game and this is the music that plays at the title screen. Pretty catchy, I like it. The title screen shows us some backyard bollocks. We have a few selections here. A talk show mode that I assume is the single player experience. Exhibition modes, bonus hello. Yeah, bonus games, create a wrestler, and a media room. In the options menu, we have 3 difficulty levels, medium, hard, and porn star. Let's stick with hard. The soundtrack has quite a lot of licensed music with tracks from Rancid, Dropkick Murphys, CKY, and Anthrax. Though I'm going to have to turn the music off unfortunately so this video doesn't get flagged. Points though for the soundtrack. It won't be for everyone, but that's quite a lot of licensed music they got there. Let's go into exhibition mode, and I've only got 9 selectable characters. I assume I need to unlock everyone else, so yeah, brilliant. I'll check for a cheat code after playing a match. We have MDog20 here, also known as Matt Cross and Son of Havoc. Josh Prohibition from AIW, he also worked in AWA Mid-South and XPW among other places, and I only know this because I googled him. Looks like we've got quite a few original characters too, and gonna be honest, this isn't overly impressive, is it? Some of you real life backyard wrestling connoisseurs are gonna hate me after this video because I won't have any idea who most of these guys are, except for a limited few, but honestly, I don't care either. I'm here to play the games, not talk about backyard fights. I think it's pretty safe to say that the vast majority of people who played this game had no clue who many of these guys were, and please excuse my ignorance here, but I never cared for backyard wrestling and I'm not going to pretend I cared either. I could look up all these guys online and completely bluff it and lie my way through this whole video, but I don't care enough to do that, sorry. Let's go with Mad Dog 20 then, and we'll take on Commissioner. He looks like a jam-up guy. We've got a few places we can fight. The backyard, the truck stop, the fucking slaughterhouse, and a gentleman's club. Let's keep it simple to begin with. The game loads up and... okay, we've got some dude cooking up burgers. The environment doesn't look too bad either. Character models aren't terrible. And... oh... fuck off! Shit, hey, knock it off! Oh, whoa! This game has one speed, fast as fuck. My character runs, he doesn't walk. Commissioner's throwing shit at me and running in with insane karate kicks, and I have no idea what I'm doing. It's an absolute onslaught. I'm trying to work out what each button does, but Commissioner here is relentless. Never have I felt so owned by a video game. The game just punished me and I've got no choice but to share my embarrassment with the rest of the world via YouTube. I'm gonna have to go out and learn the buttons here. I completely jobbed out to the Commissioner and I don't even know what happened. First impressions though, it's way too fast and it's really not a wrestling game. There's wrestling moves in there, but it's definitely not the focus. It seems like a race to see who can pick up shit the quickest and who can throw shit the quickest. Not fun, but let's actually learn how to play. The best way to do this is to set up a dummy player too and use him as a punching bag. So, on an Xbox controller, X is punch, A is kick, B is the grapple button, and Y allows us to pick up weapons. From a grapple, we can press a direction with the A button to perform a move. We can also perform strike moves from a grapple. And we can Irish whip by pressing the grapple button again. The right trigger makes us run, and I thought this was dumb at first, seeing as the character runs instead of walking anyway, but pressing the trigger locks onto your opponent while running towards them, so it makes sense I guess. The black button performs a double mule kick, though this changes with every character I'd assume, and the black button also performs your finishing move.
Death from above!
Finishing moves can be performed when your name starts flashing. Countering is done by pressing X, A or B with a direction whenever your character begins to flash. We'll try to get the hang of that a little later. And these other bars below your name, these are stun meters. Basically, if one of these fills up, you won't be able to attack. The environment is littered with weapons and props. There's ladders you can climb up to do some insane dives and whatnot. There's tables lying around, wrecked cars, and you can drag your opponent to all these things to perform moves and do extra damage. Right, now that we know a little more, let's try to play another singles match. This is a bit more like it. I definitely feel like I'm more in control, but the gameplay itself just isn't fun. Your opponent just runs around like an absolute madman, picking up shit and just throwing it at you. There's absolutely no chill here with everything going at a breakneck speed, and your mind kinda races as you try to plan out your next attack. I done better this time around, but I still got my ass kicked. Let me stop recording, let me play a few matches until I get a few wins, and I'll come back in a moment with an update. I don't want to call this game absolute dog shit just yet without giving it a fair shot, so I'll stop recording for a little while and I'll try to get good.
6 months later.
Okay, so after playing a few matches and winning a few matches, I've came to the conclusion that this game should not be played like a wrestling game at all. Don't bother trying to set up grapple moves, don't even focus on performing your finisher. Pick something up off the ground and use weapons when possible. Strike moves are the best kind of defense. Counters are possible, but striking your opponent early will stop your opponent from hitting you in the first place, and that's all there is to it really. You'll want to use the environment more, you'll want to dive off the roof and put your opponent through tables, but the game moves so fast and the stun time is so short, it feels like a lot of extra work and it's just not rewarding. It's a poor man's Def Jam Fight for New York. There's ideas here, but you won't do half the things available because your opponent runs around like an absolute lunatic. You gotta strike first, it's kick or be kicking, so the key to victory is to use punches, kicks and weapons. The running around opponents do during matches is frustrating, and so is their reliance on throwing weapons from a distance. There's no way to stop it, there's no block button, and items launched into the air are like homing missiles. You just can't avoid getting hit unless you get lucky. You gotta put up with it, and what more can I say? It's not a fun experience at all. I know there's probably quite a few backyard wrestling fans out there who want to put my sorry ass through a flaming table or a bunch of light tubes, but I'm just being honest. This isn't good. I also found a glitch that can be done pretty much any time at all. Climb up the ladder, stand at the edge of the roof, and watch the CPU completely freak out. This can be done over and over again, and you can easily win matches this way if you don't want to go through the hardships of actually playing backyard wrestling. Fortunately, we do have the sequel to look at very soon, and I'm hoping for some big improvements there. But let's just carry on and we'll see what else the first game has to offer. The truck stop level seems to have less items scattered around, but that doesn't make it any better or any worse. I tried to do the ladder glitch here, but my opponent decided to run around in circles instead of trying to climb up after me. I mean, look at this. Just look at this. The AI is so confused that it's literally running around in circles. I then became target practice by running around the place, and I gotta say, that's pretty funny. The slaughterhouse is dull and uninspired. You can attack your opponents with some dead animals though, wonderful. The gentleman's club has a pole dancer who's gonna kick you if you get too close, and a barman who throws glasses at you, and I swear to God, it baffles me how incredibly dumb the AI is in this game. In every single level there's been an obstacle that the CPU just can't overcome. Again, look at this. I'm not even remotely interested in seeing the other levels the game has to offer at this point because I know what to expect, but let's go out and check out the talk show mode. So we pick an area and we get a few opponents we need to take out. There's some bonus goals too, such as winning in a certain time frame or breaking a certain amount of objects. We have cutscenes too, but because I turned the music off, it's completely cut off the audio for cutscenes too. Fucking fantastic. So I quit out, I load talk show mode again, and check this out.
Welcome to the show. Today's topic is backyard wrestling, the scourge of our nation's youth. Now, I'm not talking about whacking your buddy with a pine cone or knocking your sister into the hedges. That's good, clean fun.
So it's a talk show where different people come on to talk about backyard wrestling and how shit it is. You've got this guy here, the barbecue guy from the backyard level, complaining about the wrestling going on in his filthy backyard, and the developers tried to make it all edgy.
I work for a living. Mother I just ruined it. And I've got grill marks on my face.
Oh my God.
You've got to wrestle 3 guys in a row here, and you'll unlock wrestlers and new levels as you progress. More opponents and different golds become available as you progress through the game, and the talk show will have new guests. I don't care enough to play through this, so let's use a cheat code and see what else is available before moving on to the sequel. I've honestly had enough of this game already. Here's a look at the full roster, and again, apologies, I'm not sure who many of these guys are. I know the usual suspects, but that's about it. I like how there's a girl named Hernia though, that's real nice. The other levels available are the mall, the mansion, and the television studio where the chat show gets held. You can unlock videos showing some real backyard wrestling sprinkled with footage of women in bikinis, including Tylene Buck. I mean, it is what it is. And I've nothing more to say about Backyard Wrestling 1. Bonus games sound like mini-games, but it's just a few extra standard modes like survival and tag. And here's Create a Wrestler mode. Yeah, Create a Wrestler mode. Well, after that, I really do hope the sequel had improvements. Let's boot up the second game and see what happens. From the opening video, we can already see there's more well-known names here. We've got New Jack, Vampiro, Andrew WK. The menus look cleaner from the get-go, so that's an improvement. But let's start a game and see what's different. The character select looks a lot cleaner this time around. We've got adult stars in the game such as Tara Patrick, Andrew WK is also selectable, and we've also got ICP again along with Madman Pondo, Nick Mondo, Sandman, Sanjay Dutt and John Zandig.
Jesus!
There's no cheat code available for Backyard Wrestling 2, so I downloaded a save using Action Replay. Our boy Jay here completed the game and he left us with a ton of cash, so everything's unlocked, thank God. Enough dicking around, let's start a match. Alright, so instantly, a big complaint has been immediately addressed. The game has been slowed down considerably, and that's good. There's an overall more cartoony or exaggerated look to the game, and the very core gameplay has been changed. So much so that once again I got my ass kicked in the very first fight, so let's go back to the 2-player dummy to find out what's going on, and what's new, and what's been changed. Punches, kicks and grapples are all performed the same way as our weapon attacks. However, the stun meter is now gone and it's been replaced with a turbo meter. The turbo meter lets you run around like a lunatic just like the first game, but it'll also let you perform guard breaks, attack counters, ground submissions, grapple escapes, and super moves. Basically, using your turbo at the right time is the key to victory in Backyard Wrestling 2, and already I liked this sequel infinitely more than its predecessor. You can see some thought actually went into this one, and it isn't just mindless running around and hoping for the best. You're also now notified on screen when you've got the chance to perform an environmental attack, giving the player more chances to inflict extra damage instead of guessing if an item is usable or part of the stage. Gotta give it to them here, just the slower pace and the inclusion of the turbo modifier makes things a lot more fun. I played a few games after understanding what I need to do, and yeah, it's a definite improvement. It still isn't a great game by the way. Just because they improved over the first game doesn't mean they knocked it out of the park with the sequel, but if you want to start playing Backyard Wrestling for whatever reason, just jump straight to the second release and pretend the original didn't happen. The more exhibitions I played, the more I actually began liking this one. The CPU can still be frustrating, there's still glitches too that are very similar to the first game, but Backyard Wrestling 2 isn't as god awful as I was expecting. Let's go out and take a look at the other game modes, options and extras before wrapping the video up. Once again, we have a soundtrack filled with licensed music from the likes of Gwar, Lamb of God, Clutch and Saliva. It surprises me that these games aren't brought up at all when folks talk about soundtracks in wrestling games, but then again, these aren't really wrestling games. I'm gonna piss so many people off with today's video, aren't I? In the media room, you can watch some videos based on the wrestlers in the game. This would have been great for Backyard Wrestling fans back in the day. Loads of footage from Combat Zone Wrestling can be found here along with JCW. A few of these videos have to be bought in career mode by the way. I found that out while looking for cheats. Create a Wrestler mode is once again quite limited unfortunately. It's more than the basic templates found in the first game, but you won't be creating anyone recognizable here. Let's start a new career then and see what's going on there. Yeah, I shouldn't have bothered showing you guys the creation mode already because you gotta make a custom wrestler for Backyard Wrestling 2's career mode. Let's just make someone really quick so we can look at the actual game. Yeah, that'll do. So the Backyard Wrestling crew have came to town and they're putting on a pay-per-view. If you can get to that pay-per-view's main event and win the match, you're gonna win yourself a cool $1 million. Already, the other Backyard Wrestlers have begun fighting to get their spot in the main event, so you're gonna go around town and pick fights with the best of the best. What's good here is the career mode will actually learn you how to play the game, something that was missing from Backyard Wrestling 1. You'll win prize money based on how well you perform in a match, and that money can be used in the store to purchase movies or create a wrestler parts. Everything's already unlocked in this game save though. You'll win regional championships before getting to the pay-per-view, and when I say regional, I mean the east of the city and the west of the city. And cutscenes will further the story along. The news reporter here gets messed up throughout the whole game, but he gets a little revenge towards the end. And the big pay-per-view at the end of the game takes place in the carnival. From what I gather, you'll unlock everything on your first playthrough, so there's no need to play it twice. I'm pretty sure if I started playing Backyard Wrestling 2 without playing the first game, I'd probably think it was awful. It's only because I played the first release that I can appreciate the improvements that were made in the sequel. Make no mistake about it, the sequel isn't a good game, but it's leagues better than its predecessor, and the praise I'm giving it here is based on what came before it. I also know that I'm being incredibly unfair. I've only played these games for a couple of hours and I'm judging them without truly learning the games inside out. I would get really annoyed with online reviewers ripping games apart that I knew were good, but because the reviewer only played for a little while or they looked up other reviews online, the game that I liked would end up getting instantly dismissed by others. There will be fans out there who enjoyed these games and they might have some attachment to these games too, and for you guys, I apologise. I can actually see why some fans would enjoy the sequel, and the included wrestling footage is also a nice bonus, but I've got to be honest too, first impressions are not good here at all, and Backyard Wrestling is definitely a game series I'd have to force myself to enjoy, and no one wants to do that. These games are also products of their time, there's nothing subtle here. From the selectable porn stars, the violent cutscenes, the soundtracks that mixes rock, punk, metal and rap music, it does bring you right back to that early 2000s era where anything remotely underground, such as Backyard Wrestling, was able to rise up from the ashes and gain more notoriety, mainly due to the internet coming into practically everyone's homes. Still, these aren't games I can see myself going back to. Playing these games aren't that much fun for me, especially the first installment, and these are games that I really can't ever see being made again in the future. But that's another 2 wrestling games covered, and 2 that will unfortunately sit at the bottom of the pile. I did add a few songs from Backyard Wrestling 1 and 2 soundtracks though to my playlist, so it wasn't a total waste of time. Thanks for watching this one guys, and take care. This one's been requested quite a few times on Wrestling Bios, and it's a game that I've also wanted to try, Matt Dickey's Wrestling Empire. Wrestling Empire has been described as a wrestling sandbox game by some and absolutely insane by others. It's not like any other wrestling game out there, and it's got a ton, and I mean a ton, of die-hard fans. What's special about Wrestling Empire though is the fact that its developer, Matt Dickey, put this all together as a one-man team, and that's something you just gotta respect whether you like the game or not. Matt's been releasing games since the year 2000, he moved over to the mobile market in 2011, and I'm sure many of you, like myself, came across his Wrestling Revolution games on mobile phones while browsing for wrestling games to play on the go. I'm gonna be honest, I didn't give the Wrestling Revolution games enough time. I played for 15 minutes or so, I couldn't get on with the controls and I completely dismissed the series, not fully appreciating how much work must have went into these games seeing as it was all put together by just one person. But I'm going to make up for it today by playing M. Dickey's Wrestling Empire for the very first time. Now, I've watched some gameplay online and it looks extremely in-depth but also extremely batshit crazy. I really don't know what to expect, so I wanted to try and capture my true reactions while playing the game. So this is going to be a slightly different video today where I don't work off a script, I'm going to let it play out and see what happens. Before we start though, make sure you check out Matt's website, you'll learn more about the guy behind the games, his history in game development, and you'll get links to Matt's social channels. The guy's worked really hard over the years judging by his back catalogue, so do take a little time to check out his other work. Alright, so Wrestling Empire is available on Nintendo Switch, Android, iOS and Steam. I went for the Steam version here because it's easier to record. The official game description says this is wrestling that puts the fun first, filling the ring with as many wrestlers as you can handle and letting them loose with freestyle animation where anything could happen at any moment. I'm going to leave the game's instructions on my screen too because I know I'm going to suck at this from the get-go, but let's get started. Just one other thing, this isn't going to show everything that this game has to offer. I'm just going to put it on, I'm just going to play a few matches, play career and things like that, and we'll try to see what the game's basically about. But there will be a lot more this game has to offer, and that's something that you'll need to find out for yourself. Alright, here we go. So what we're going to do here is just play career mode because we'll be able to play plenty of exhibitions and stuff while playing the single player experience. Plus it sounds like, or it looks like, most of the crazy shit happens in career mode anyway, so let's check it out. So wrestling school, okay, there's different promotions here. There's a lot of different wrestlers. Crispin. Oh, okay. There's Sting. Maybe we should check out the wrestling school. This will probably introduce us to the, you know, how to play the game and things. Maybe, hopefully. Is that Ahmed Johnson? Aaron Benson? You know what? Let's go with Big Ahmed. Alright, so quite a lot of customization options here. Change the lighting, changes pyro. Prop he brings to the ring, entrance theme. Changes gear. So yeah, if you're into all this kind of stuff, there's plenty you can do here, and there's plenty of customization options. But let's just start in the wrestling school. Alright, so we've got a calendar here. We've got some of our stats up in the corner. We've got TV, then a public show. We can look at the roster, check the gimmick, which I assume is just the screen we were on. Yeah, it is. There's a database. Okay, it's just stats for most agile, skillful wrestlers, strongest wrestlers, popular brands, things like that. We can proceed to the next week, or we can roam, which I assume is just walking around the arena and stuff. But let's just proceed, and we'll see if we can get ourselves a match. We've got a match. We're going up against Pocapolo. Here's Big Ahmed. And it's me. It's actually you control the entrance. So that's pretty cool. Okay, so punch, grapple, run. Looks like a pickup button. Right stick is taunt. Shoulder. Oh shit. Shoulder buttons change who you're focused on. Seems straightforward enough. Don't know how to counter though. Pocapolo's kicking my ass. Look at the blood on the mat. Holy shit. Oh, I'm getting fucked up by Poca. Come on, Ahmed, get up. Get up, Ahmed. Don't. Oh. Alright, let's focus here. Let's focus. Oh, you like that? Oh, and the big part slam by Ahmed Johnson. Aaron Benson, sorry. The blood. You know, keep in mind that it's only one guy put this together. It was only, you know, you don't expect a AAA title because, you know, it doesn't have a AAA budget. But it's quite impressive that one person's responsible for this whole game. So the yellow bar underneath my name, I must be the special meter. Adrenaline's up. So I think I was reading the instructions. I think it's 2 buttons at the same time. Maybe. No, I'm fucking this up. Oh, I missed my opportunity to do special. Maybe he's going to submit. Oh, there we go. Top out. Poca. Top out, motherfucker. You've only got 5 minutes. I try to go for a pinfall after this. Right, okay, so pick him up and just do a standard move. Keep doing that same spear. Okay, let's pin him. Eh, not bad, not bad. Hit the showers, Ahmed. Hit the showers. Let's go to hospital. Aaron Benson's progress is being hindered by the limitations of wrestling school. Yes, I agree. Pocapolo's profile has suffered considerably after being defeated so easily in that match. Alright. Training session, attendance 0, revenue 0, wages 0, expenses $100. So it cost me money. Oh, what's going on here? Winning your first match at wrestling school was the best possible start, Aaron Benson. Who's this shady fucker? Who was that? So here we are at the end of the next matchup. We've got Alan Gator in the ring. I think that's the stalker. And I'm just going to fuck this guy up, and then we can try the roam mode. We'll have a look about what's out in the streets for Ahmed Johnson. You see how high that fucker flew? Ahmed's gonna fly too. Oh. Alright, Ahmed Johnson wins another one. Sorry, Aaron Benson. Awesome. What's going on here? What's she doing? Can I help you? Oh, she interfered in the match. I wouldn't have noticed because she didn't do anything. Alright, Ahmed Johnson's backstage. Ready to do some damage. Let's go out into the streets. What have we got out in the streets? What can we do out here? Nature boy. There's some objects just scattered around. There's a fucking gun on the floor. Yo, Brock. How do I use this? Can I use it? Oh, Ric Flair's like, put the gun down, it's not worth it. I don't think I can use it. You're lucky. You're all lucky. Ahmed Johnson, yo, is not to be fucked with. Here, Brock. Oh, there's a drink. Oh, what the hell? What the oh, it's his drink. Sorry, I didn't know it was yours. Don't leave your shit lying around on the floor. Oh. Cemetery. Mankind. Well, maybe I can drink this water. Right, boys. There's a dead body here. Someone's having a nap. Who is that? Wake up. Shouldn't be sleeping. I'm taking your belt. Here we are in the hospital. This has turned into Resident Evil. Oh, food. Alright, next week. 3rd week of April. Okay. That's a great update. Aaron Benson back in the house. Sell it tonight. Oh shit. Oh shit. Is that how we're playing it? Yo, gotcha. You know, the wrestling in the game isn't terrible. There are some good ideas here when it comes to controls, especially with like the ground. It's kind of like ground grappling sort of thing. There are some good ideas here. It doesn't look like much, I know, but once you get kind of used to it, it isn't terrible. You know, people will dismiss it straight away, kind of like the way I did with Wrestling Revolution, but once you get used to it, it isn't too bad. Oh, it's a burger. I want the burger. So, take you out. Give me the burger. Let me just stop and eat this burger mid-match. There's the Pearl River Plunge. Pin him. Ahmed just had a burger in the middle of the ring. He then had a Pearl River Plunge and he still didn't win the match. Aaron Benson's fucked. Oh, who's this? It's Headbanger Mosh? I don't know. 40 seconds left. This is going to go to a time limit draw unless Ahmed gives it up right now. Don't fucking give up. No, no. His first loss. The streak is over. Fuck. Oh, Ahmed sucks. Can't do anything. I'm too fucked. I'm going to hospital. I need fixed. Help, doctor, help. He's so fucked. We're running short on staff tonight. Aaron Benson, could you sit in on commentary for the next match? Yeah, let's do it. I'll work as a commentator. Thanks, Aaron. You just saved the broadcast. Please accept an extra $260 for your time. Okay. Nice. So I'm doing commentary for this matchup. This is right up my alley. Tommy Hawk and Lucy Lakes. Nothing's happening. What's going on? Is the game crashed or are we stuck here? Okay, oh, he's moving now. It's okay, we've got all day to wait. Aaron Benson will be joining us on commentary to share his insights in this match. Where am I? Okay. I don't know. Hey, hello. You know what it's like to be in there, so how do you see this match ending? It will end by pinfall or submission. Let's say pinfall. You heard it here first. Aaron Benson sees this one ending in pinfall, so let's find out. Don't tell me I have to sit and watch this whole fucking match, do you? Fucking hell. Yeah, I'm going to the toilet. There's no way I'm sitting watching this. Let me know what happens. Oh, I just came back in and it looks like... What happened? What happened? Did they win via pinfall? Let me check the video. Alright, it's pinfall. Up you get, Ahmed. Let's go. Let's go and make that money. Alan Gator's profile has dropped considerably after being criticised by the press. What did Alan Gator do? Look at how sketchy he looks. After 10 hours of comfortable sleep, Aaron Benson's energy levels are now at 59%. That's not good enough. I need to sleep more. Alright, we're booked for a cage shoot fight on the 4th week of May. That should be good. There's more to this business than what takes place in the ring. Yeah, I know. I'm trying to find that out. If you let me walk around and see what's going on. Why don't you join us for a drink to unwind? It probably wouldn't cost more than $100. Alright, let's go on the piss. Let's do it. Ahmed Johnson in the bar. You look exhausted. Why don't you take a nap while there's still time? Yo, my health is low, but I also need a drink. No, I'll be fine. Alright, let me get some food then. There's a ring bell here. There's a burger. Let me get that burger. Eat the burger, Ahmed. Yo, I'm putting on weight, but I don't care. I'm gonna eat before I drink. Nice. Oh, the show's starting. I haven't had a drink yet. Ahmed just showed up to the bar to eat hot dogs and food off the ground. Alright, so I had like 3 burgers and a hot dog and some pizza, so I'm good. Not gonna have a drink. Oh shit, there was an explosion at the bar. Slick Rick's beating up the barman. Yo, we're not going to any wrestling match tonight. We're going to party. Oh shit. You know what? I'm going to just skip my match. Don't care. What are you waiting for, Aaron Benson? You need to go through the curtain now. Fuck up. Shove it up your ass. I'm going to go to my match. Bye bye. Great time at the bar. I can't get out the door. Where's the door? Where's the exit? Alright, I'm going to make it to my match. I'm going to make it to my match. Alright, we just made it. It's student night. Don't laugh, they're trying their best. Right, let's do it. Ahmed Johnson's here. The show is saved. It seems things have been spiraling out of control here at wrestling school. Oh, is this a promo? If you step out of line in my ring, I'll kick both of your asses as if I'm in the damn match. Okay. Red shoes. One thing I will say, it does take a little bit of time to get your opponent's energy down. Maybe with higher stats, you know, that'll be a bit quicker, but it does take a little time. Get up, Ahmed, get up, come on. Oh, no, I hit referee, fucking bastard face. Oh, he's okay, he's not doing anything. I've tried to pin this guy over and over again, and he just will not go down. Even the referee's leaving the ring, he just like, you know what, fuck this. It's a draw. It's a draw. I couldn't pin this guy. I gave him everything, and he kept kicking out. The Adventures of Ahmed Johnson. I wonder, is there a way I can like change promotion? talk to the booker or? There's nobody here. Guess it's time to leave. Yo, Ahmed Johnson needs a shit. Oh no. Oh no. Oh, my controls are all fucked. That hot dog wasn't good. That's it. Let's eat it again. Let's see how big we can make Ahmed Johnson. Oh, The Office. Oh, nice. Okay. My match is up. It's time for my match. I gotta go. It was nice hugging you though. Unfortunately, the competition in this division is so pathetic that I've resorted to finding my own. You're the referee. That's why I'm pleased to announce that I'll be granting a title shot to whoever wins this match. Oh yeah. Well, tall order. Just to let you know, I ate some food off a bathroom floor a moment ago, so I'm kind of getting to the point where I want to like roam around and skip the wrestling matches just to see what happens backstage. Come on, Ahmed, get up. Get up. Look at the blood on your back, Jesus. Not looking too good, Ahmed. Not a lot to say here, really. I think I'm going to try the general monitor. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to let him pin me. Yeah. So I'm going to go out and try the general manager mode. Oh, hold on. Sorry, I'm having second thoughts about that finish. So the only fair thing to do is restart the match. Okay, let's. Nah, I kind of want to try the. I want to try the general manager mode. So, while I appreciate the second chance at beating this fool, I think we will exit. Oh, I just won the match. Right, let's have another walk around with Ahmed Johnson, and then we'll try the manager mode. Ahmed Johnson walks around eating food off the floor. Why did she just like dive off that table? Hey, Ahmed, life and soul of the party. These people are just like sleeping on the streets. Everyone, what the hell? Alright, that'll do it for the adventures of Ahmed Johnson. Let's check the booker mode and we'll see what's going on there before wrapping up the video. Back in the main menu, let's check out the booking career and see what's going on here. Looks like you can just pick pretty much anyone to be the booker, is that right? Frankincense, Big Papa Pump. What would it be like if Big Papa Pump booked a promotion, a Lucha Libre promotion? Let's find out. Welcome to Super Lucha Libre, Frankincense. I understand you'll be taking over as the booker. Super Lucha Libre is currently behind Federation Online with ratings of 81%. You've been brought in to improve on that and help Super Lucha Libre gain ground. Although I'm stepping down as the booker, I remain the owner and will be checking you don't screw things up. Scott Steiner doesn't screw things up. But ultimately, we're on the same side and we all want Super Lucha Libre to succeed, right? Wrong, I'm going to run this company into the ground. I wish you the best of luck and hope you enjoy running the show as much as I did. How does this work? We've got a roster. Our roster. Got Harlem Heat here. Dan Fever, Disco. Is it Norman Smiley? Did I just pick the WCW roster? I think I did, yeah. There's the Outsiders. Yeah, this must be WCW. Right, map. We hate weapons. We love high flyers. We love cages. We hate intruders. We hate managers. We love time limits. So it's kind of the like a territory system. Okay, so we're going to book a card. I'm going to referee a match between Conan and Elegante. Okay. So that's the first thing booked, is that right? Yep. So let's book the next. No, that's not how it works. You gotta do it one by one, or? Dude, there's no way I'm sitting playing through all this. So we'll do a promo before the match, but let's not. I shoot fight. Let's play it. And then get you boys to the ring. Simulate result. Elegante wins in a 2-star match. Oh shit, I only booked one match for that show. No, it didn't. So you go through it one by one sort of thing. Let's book a whole, let's just simulate everything. So yeah, it would probably take a little time to get through all this, but I just want to see what happens after everything's done in the show. Is that Vampiro versus Razor Ramon? So yeah, let's make this one a promo instead. Sumo contest. There's a lot of match types here. Last laugh. The last wrestler to score a pin or submission will win. Iron Man best of 3 singles. Confrontation. Opponents can be defeated by... Oh, it's still a fight. I think you gotta go to script to do promos. So, argument. Betray friend. Wage gap. Yeah, let's argue about our wages. Lost Boy resents... Oh, so Vampiro resents Razor for earning more money. Razor comes out. Is that meant to be Nash? Or maybe Dallas? Who knows? No, Petrol. So it's Diesel. His name's Petrol. Alright, so let's see what a promo works out. We may have the same job, Machismo, but we don't have the same experience. Super Lucha Libre thinks you're not worth more than me just because you're a man and I'm a woman. What? I earn more than you because this business is about asses and seats, not asses and faces. Jesus. Alright, so now what happens to a fight? Oh shit, it is. It's a fight. Okay. Oh fuck it, I'm gonna simulate it. Oh, you can set up interference as well, but yeah, I'm gonna simulate it. Machismo wins. Suppose you would be able to get your 5 stars up and stuff if you actually played the matches and stuff, but I'm just gonna go through it quickly. Encounter and establish Lost Boy as a face. Okay. Machismo's profile is improved after winning that match. Petrol is happy that his client won the match. Alright, mid-card matches. Brian Pillman versus Eddie Guerrero, I believe that is. I'll go with that. 4-star match. Okay, good mid-card. Let's change out Rick Steiner. Let's put in La Parka. La Parka against Saturn. Here's the big main event. Sting versus Lex Luger with Booker T as the special referee. Let's do it. Simulate result. Max Mullet defeated Sting in a 2-star match. Not good. Not good. Max Mullet has also become the new heavyweight champion. So after the card's finished, it looks like you have to go up here and put it out for broadcast. So you send the tape. Oh, and we sucked. 7th. We went down. No, Super Lucha Libre is going to go under. How much money did we lose? Not good. Not good. The previous owner's going to sack me after week 1. Alright, we've got mobile phone controls on the left and the other controls on the right. Looks like we can travel to neighbouring territories, so let's see if we can do that. Quite a lot of news here for you to, you know, it would be good if you're in this, if you're someone who's into this kind of thing and building, you know, your own federations and keeping tabs on other federations and things like that. There is value here. There's, holy shit, 20 pages of news. Listen, we're interested in bringing Elegante to All American Wrestling. That's a mistake, brother. You don't want him. I understand he's still under contract for another 27 weeks, but would you be willing to release him? Yeah, take him. I don't want Elegante in my roster. Great, I'm glad we could all come to an agreement. Elegante belongs to All American Wrestling. Okay, so can I sign other wrestlers? Let's see. Alright, I want Arn Anderson, so... okay, you have meetings. Nice to meet you, Andy Aniston. We invited you here to discuss working with Super Lucha. 38 weeks. What? Look at that contract. You're gonna bankrupt me? You're gonna bankrupt me, but Arn Anderson's worth it. Oh. You know what? Fuck it. Excuse me, you've got the biggest contract in this company? Oh, how do I add? I'm not sure how to add things to the contract. Alright, let's try to sign someone else. Kevin Steen. Right, let's try this again. Wonder how much KO wants. He's cheaper than Arn Anderson. As an enhancement talent? Is there no way to... okay. So you can make changes. Let's give him health insurance. And yeah, health insurance. Okay, I offended him by by offering him health insurance. Jesus. All right. You're not getting favored nations. No way. Nepotism. No title push. Promise to be booked or against the champ. Yep, I'll give you a title shot against Lex Luger. Why didn't you say that in the first place? Well, if I can't get you to Canada, then I don't think there's anything else I can do for you. Except offer you more money. Here. And less dates. Sign. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, then. Canada mustn't mean that much, then. He just wanted the money. I got played by KO. Alright, look, I think that'll do it. There isn't much point in me playing on any further because now you've got a good look at the game and you can judge now for yourself if it's something that you would enjoy. Personally, I don't think this is a bad game at all, but you do need to invest some time in it to get the most out of it, I'd say. There's going to be little things that happen, you know, with the meetings and the promos when you walk around the streets and things like that. There will be more going on there, and it's one of those things where you need to keep playing to be able to see everything that's on offer. So there's good replay value here, but it's not something that I just wouldn't have the time really to sit down at a console and you know, put a few months into this game. But in saying that, it might be more suitable for mobile phones. So, you know, if you're on the train or if you're waiting for something, or I don't know, whatever it is, if you're out and about and you've got 10 or 15 minutes to spare, you could always pull this out, have a couple of, you know, book a few matches or have a couple of matches in the career mode and then put it away and come back to it again. It's one of those games where you'll probably get a lot more out of it if you put more time into it, but it's also suitable for, you know, your phone just to pull out and play for 5 minutes, or, you know, it all depends on what you want. In terms of the wrestling itself, look, if you're going into this looking for like WWE 2K or whatever it may be, keep your expectations in check. You gotta remember, and I've said this a couple of times already, one person worked on this game, and I think that's a great accomplishment in itself when you just look at it. You know, one person sat and done this. As I said at the start of the video, check out Dickie's website and you can see the timeline that led to this game getting developed, and it's really interesting seeing what games were developed as like the stepping stones to wrestling empire. You know, it's really cool. But that's going to do it for this one. Thanks for watching, guys, and this is maybe something that I'll come back to. If you want to see more adventures of Ahmed Johnson and things like that, we can keep playing career mode, but I need your feedback on things like that, so let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, guys, and take care. What if I told you there exists a video game released in 1996 only in Japan that combines superstars from the World Wrestling Federation, World Championship Wrestling, New Japan, All Japan, and CMLL? What if I told you its career mode features Ric Flair booking the WWF and WCW, Giant Baba handling booking duties in Japan, and Mil Mascaras taking care of business over in Mexico? Well, such a game does exist, and I didn't know a thing about it until channel friend Guru Larry reached out to let me know about it. There's one big caveat though, a kinda humorous caveat that still shouldn't stop you from playing the game, though it can't be overlooked. Every single wrestler in the game has had his name altered. Some of these name changes are quite clever, some are hilarious. It's something you may need to get over, but once you do, you're gonna find a pretty good and pretty obscure wrestling game that's also gonna surprise you. Today, we're gonna take a look at Royal Pro Wrestling on the ill-fated 3DO console. The 3DO was released in 1993 and well, the console didn't do too well. It was unique in the fact that it wasn't manufactured by the parent company, but instead, the blueprints of the console were given to various manufacturers who made their own 3DO consoles. This kind of standardization wasn't too dissimilar to VHS players, where electronics company can make their own device to play the same media format. But this added manufacturer also adds a middleman who wants paid, and so the cost of the 3DO was ridiculously high at launch, $700 in 1993, remember? The 3DO was discontinued in late 1996, so Royal Pro Wrestling was one of the last games to come out for the console. The game was developed by Natsume, who up to this point had developed the Zen Nippon Pro Wrestling games on the Super Famicom, based on All Japan Pro Wrestling, and following Royal Pro Wrestling, they developed some WWF games on Nintendo's handheld consoles, such as WrestleMania 2000 on Game Boy Color, and Road to WrestleMania Survivor Series and Road to WrestleMania 18 on Game Boy Advance. We always talk about Aki, Yukes, and even Acclaim sometimes, but Natsume also had quite a history in wrestling game development. With Royal Pro Wrestling, it looks like the company wanted to feature more wrestlers outside of Japan, but the thing is, they didn't have the licenses to do so. Alright, let's take a look at this roster first before we jump in and see what else the game has to offer. Many of you will probably just want to see the roster anyway. Rosters are split into different promotions, but we'll talk about that as we go through the wrestlers. Golden Lips is Hulk Hogan, of course. Check out the Ripstar shirt, a nod to Hogan's No Holds Barred movie. Golden Lips mixes Hogan's Thunder Lips name from Rocky III and Sterling Golden, a name that Hogan used in the late 70s. Andy Savage, that one needs no explanation. Feels a little lazier than Golden Lips, but you'll find that a few times with this roster. Please forgive my pronunciation as we go through this, but here's Oyakata the Kokina, or the WWF's Yokozuna. Big Yoko used to wrestle as the Great Kokina, Kokina the Samoan, and Kokina Maximus, among other names. Mike Warrior is Road Warrior Hawk, using his real name, and Johnny Warrior, Road Warrior Animal, is inspired by Animal's real name Joseph Laurinaitis. Skunk, this is where it gets silly. This is the icon Sting, only he smells really bad. Big Bang Bull Power is Vader. It mixes Vader's older baby bull name with Big Van Vader. The Underdice Morgan, what the fuck? Yeah, Underdice Morgan mixes The Undertaker's ring name along with one of his older ring names, Punisher Dice Morgan. Underdice Morgan does sound ridiculous though. Kong the Gordish is Bruiser Brody, a mixture of his birth name Frank Goodish and his early King Kong Brody ring name. Rich Flair doesn't need explained, look at the smile on the Nature Boy. And that's the American roster that's featured in Royal Pro Wrestling. In the game, all these guys work for the WWE promotion. Let's look at the Japanese wrestlers. Here's where I mess up all their names. Also, I'm not going to know where half these guys' new fake names came from or the thought process behind the new names, so apologies. Hopefully someone can explain in the comments. Dynamic Iwaki is Antonio Inoki. Iwaki is a city in Fukushima, and that's all I know. Dragon Fujiyama is Tatsumi Fujinami. Shinya Hashitomi is Shinya Hishimoto. The Great Budo is the Great Muda. Dr. Kill is Dr. Death Steve Williams. Dr. Kill. Mr. Arbu is Abdullah the Butcher. Koji Izawa is Mitsuharu Misawa. Jumbo the Tombo is Jumbo Saruda. Texas Longhorn is Stan Hansen. The Big Kiba is the Giant Baba. All these guys work for the JWA promotion. Finally, we have the MDLL promotion. This one features Mexican superstars along with a few Japanese wrestlers too. Santo Crass is El Santo. Little Giants is Gran Hamada. The name comes from the fact that Gran Hamada was Little Hamada, then Gran Hamada during his career. The Dolphin is Super Delphin. The Saratobi is the Great Suzuki. Teagle Mask? Teagle Mask. This is Tiger Mask, of course. Negro Taggle is Black Tiger Mask. Kaiser Yamada is Jushin Thunder Liger. The name's based off his real name, Kishi Yamada. Kid the Wolf is Dynamite Kid. Jose Enmascarado is Dos Caros, and I love how they spelled the name Jose here. Alon Enmascarado is Mil Mascaras. That's one stacked roster, but it's hard to get over some of the knockoff names. Don't let it put you off though. I'm not saying Royal Pro Wrestling is this obscure hidden gem that you need to play right this minute, but for a 3DO game, it's not bad at all. Plus, with a roster like this, you'll be able to put on some pretty interesting matchups. Alright, here's the first menu you're presented with, and yeah, I'm fucked. One lonesome FAQ for this game currently sits on GameFAQs, so a massive shout out to Fire Pro Fan for unintentionally helping me out here. The first option is a World Championship mode. Face everyone in the game across 3 promotions and win the Triple Crown. Next we have Tournament mode. It's a regular elimination tournament that can be played here. Next is the Exhibition mode where you can play singles and tag team matches. A tutorial is also here for those who want to brush up on their skills. And we have some options. I know what that one is. In options you can set the difficulty. The second option is to change game mode. Basically you can turn off match judging in World Championship mode. The third option lets you turn the commentary on or off, and then you can listen to all the theme songs that are featured in the game. And yes, there's fake versions of the WWF and WCW entrance themes we all know and love. Have a listen, here's The Undertaker's theme. Here's Hulk Hogan's Real American. And here's a rip-off of the WWF Legion of Doom entrance music. There's also some concept art that you can look at in the options, and I'm not even sure if this stuff was done by the actual game designers or some kids. You can work out a few of the wrestlers, but you can also see characters who aren't featured in the game at all. Have a look, some of the characters and drawings seem very primitive. Maybe it was some sort of competition to have your artwork in the game, I don't know. Some bizarre shit going on right here though. Okay, let's start a matchup and I'll show you guys how to play this. Even with the FAQ, it still took me a while to wrap my head around it. Let's go with Hulk Hogan versus The Undertaker. We're allowed to pick the venue that we wrestle in based on the countries represented, so you've got Madison Square Garden and the Tokyo Dome for example. And you know what, let's just watch the whole entrance sequence from start to end. The next time you want to jump online to complain about how WWE 2K got the entrance animation wrong when your favourite wrestler poses in the ring, remember Royal Pro Wrestling and be thankful. Here we are then. It doesn't look too bad, does it? You might notice Jimmy Hart and Paul Bearer are walking around the outside of the ring. Keep in mind that the Hulkster was part of WCW when this game was released. Unfortunately, you can't control the managers. The 3DO has 3 face buttons, 2 shoulder buttons, and 2 buttons that kinda acted like start and select. The A button performs punches and kicks depending on your distance from the opponent, B will run, and C performs a head grab. Up or down with the R button performs a taunt. You need to understand that there's both grappling in this game and there's headlocks. Both of these states lead to different moves. To lock up, you just walk into your opponent. When you lock up, you can perform light grapples with a direction in the A button, or a medium grapple with a direction in the C button. You can Irish whip your opponent with the B button, and if you hold in a direction, you can whip your opponent into the corners. If you successfully headlock your opponent with the C button, you can perform medium and strong moves, but there's a greater risk of getting countered here, plus you need to time your move following the head grab perfectly. It's a bit daunting at first, but do what I did and set up a punching bag player too, and you can practice as much as you want. Don't even bother with the tutorial mode because you won't understand what's going on. You can fight on the outside and use a chair too, but be careful of your opponent's manager. They can and will attack you, and the referee won't do a thing about it. You've got your usual top rope moves also. Some wrestlers can perform suicide dives, and you've also got finishing moves that are performed with the C button. This isn't a game you can just pick up and play at all. You're going to need to practice a little before trying the single player mode, or you're going to get your ass kicked. There's way more to it than what I just explained, but this will give you an idea of what you need to know before getting started. I myself am still learning the nuances of the game. A lot of what you do is also automatic, especially when running or whipping your opponent. Dives over the top rope are done automatically, rebound attacks are also automatic, so getting used to that takes a few minutes. All in all, it doesn't play too badly. The grapple system is something I'm still trying to properly figure out, and getting the timing down is taking me quite some time, but there's improvement after every match. Every character too feels different, and every opponent you face also feels different. It's hard to explain, but it does feel like each opponent wrestles differently, even though some moves are repeated. For example, I picked Yokozuna to face Tiger Mask, and it really did feel like I was the heavyweight of the bout, as it should be. Power moves completely took Tiger Mask out of the match, and he struggled to overcome Yokozuna's strength. It felt like a squash match. I then played a Muta vs Sting match, and Sting completely destroyed me by not letting up at all. Maybe it was coincidental, but the differences in how the matches played out was like night and day, and hopefully this means there's more going on under the hood than what we might expect. It isn't an excellent game though by any stretch of the imagination, but it has a strange quality where you do want to have another match right after you win or lose. Alright, championship mode. You'll need to bear with me here as I try to explain this while Japanese text is on your screen. The best thing for me to do here is just set up a career mode and explain what's going on as we progress. The first thing you're going to do is select a promotion. Let's go for the American WWE. You'll then pick a wrestler. Let's go for the Stinger, or the Skunker as the case may be. And we'll then go straight to our first match. Sting versus the Macho Man Randy Savage, or Andy Savage. Check out the pre-match promo.
How in the world did you get here? You've been winning us sheer luck. So don't get the idea we're equal. Your career is going to end pretty soon. So enjoy yourself while you can.
Yeah, nice green teeth you've got there, match. The promos are bad, there's no two ways about it. Underdice Morgan just calls himself The Undertaker during his promo.
Your fate is in my hands. I'm the Undertaker, Morgan, and I'll send you to the grave.
Road Warrior Hawk's voice seems to change towards the end of the promo.
I'm in the mood for destruction. Whatever gets in my way, I'll destroy. I'm out of control.
Yokozuna just says Banzai, it's just one word, surely they didn't fuck this up.
Banzai!
And this is probably the least intimidating Road Warrior you'll ever hear in your life.
Ha! I don't have to bother with a weakling like you, but I don't choose my opponent. I'll accept a challenge from anyone. I'm warning you though, you won't leave the ring on your own 2 feet.
Start a match in championship mode and you'll see a yellow bar above the ring that makes it look like the game's glitching out, but no, the bar represents the audience's excitement. So championship mode isn't just about winning matches, it's all about the variety of your moves and your opponent's moves. It can actually be beneficial to let your opponent beat you up a little, and this is something I really like. A yellow bar means you're getting a poor reaction, blue means the crowd's getting into the match, and when the bar flashes, the crowd are going nuts. The camera will even shake when you perform big moves or finishers. As you progress through the championship mode, the crowd gets harder to please. Things that are going to deplete the meter include finishing the match without performing your finishing move, winning a match too early, winning via countout, repeating the same moves over and over again, and you can also lose the crowd by botching moves, so you can do a botch by not connecting with your opponent. If you win the match with a good rating, the promotion's booker will reward you with a star. So here's Ric Flair congratulating the Stinger and telling him he had a good match. Yes, Ric Flair is the booker of the WWE promotion. You'll know you done well if the character's theme song plays and if the booker's clapping. You'll also know obviously because you'll get a gold star. If you get a black star, you done a bad job. Get 4 black stars and it's game over. Get 5 gold stars and you'll get your face plastered over the cover of a magazine. Beat everyone in the territory and then you're going to move on to the next. When you visit Japan, you won't get the pre-match promos. Instead, you'll get these little backstage segments with the ring announcer talking about the upcoming match. And in Mexico, your opponent will pose while getting photographs taken. Different regions also prefer different wrestling. The Japanese crowd's gonna appreciate strong style wrestling more, so strikes and hard hitting moves will make the bar fill up a little quicker. Fans in Mexico will cheer you on for pulling off high flying moves. As far as I'm aware, there are no unlockable rewards for completing championship mode. It kinda feels pointless seeing as you'll have to play quite a lot of matches with the same guy with no real reward. But I really like how they incorporated the showmanship of pro wrestling into championship mode. The audience meter is an excellent idea, and the audience preferring different kinds of wrestling depending on the promotion is also quite innovative for its time. Seeing the American style promos is definitely funny too, unintentionally funny, but funny nonetheless. There's also 2 different promos for each guy, so maybe you'll get lucky and you'll hear something else on your second playthrough.
You really pissed me off, and that's your biggest mistake. I'll crush you on the floor and you're gonna regret being in this match for the rest of your miserable life.
I didn't talk about tag team matches yet, and I really should, seeing as tag matches are the only other matches that are available. Tag matches can go on for a very long time. The AI will run in to break up pins, so get yourself prepared. One tap of the button tags in your partner, and you can even team up with a friend here to play 2-player co-op. Double team moves are available, but good luck getting your AI controlled tag team partner to lock up at the same time as you. I managed to see the double brainbuster a few times from the Road Warriors as they proceeded to kick my ass while my partner stood by and laughed. Tag matches do seem to extend the playtime of a standard one-on-one match, so if that's your thing, give it a go. There's also a tag team career that you can play, and yes, there's also tag team promos available.
Hey, you guys aren't tough enough to challenge us. Let us give you a piece of advice. Forget about winning the match, just think about survival.
If we were to fight the match in the desert, vultures would be circling above, waiting for your final breath.
Royal Pro Wrestling is definitely an oddity when it comes to professional wrestling games, and I think the main reason why this one flew under the radar was because it was on the 3DO and only released in Japan. When this was released, In Your House was the main WWF game, so that should kinda put things into perspective. That's not to say people missed out or anything. Nobody should rush out to buy a 3DO just to play Royal Pro Wrestling, because it really isn't worth the price tag. But Royal Pro Wrestling is definitely a curiosity, and it's made all the more bizarre thanks to the rip-off real-life superstars included in its roster. There's things I haven't figured out yet about the game. Some superstars have little special abilities that are unique to them, and even the guy who wrote the FAQ didn't figure out every detail about every superstar. So, for example, the Great Muta can spit the green mist, but it's done at random times during counter moves. There's a lot of little things like that that could make Royal Pro Wrestling worth coming back to. I actually had a good time playing this, and when Guru Larry sent me over the details surrounding the game, I thought it was going to be absolutely horrible. It isn't brilliant, but it isn't absolutely terrible either. Once you get in the groove and once you start adjusting to the game's timing, it really isn't all that bad. It doesn't look like a whole lot. The rip-off characters may instantly turn people away, but it's not like their names are plastered on the screen during gameplay either, so the character names shouldn't really be an issue. I think I'm going to stick to this one for another little while and see what else the game has to offer. I'd love to talk more about it, but I really need to spend more time with the game. There won't be a follow-up video or anything like that. I just thought you guys would enjoy seeing something that isn't covered all that much on YouTube. Alright, I'm going to start a tag match with Rich Flair and Andy Savage. Texas Longhorn and Dr. Kill better watch out. Thanks for watching, and take care.
Tonight, you'll feel fear like you've never felt it before. You will shiver, shake, and try to scream, yet your voice won't come out. That's the fear you'll feel tonight. Woo!
Do you ever wonder what would have happened if the WWF didn't change game developers and they stayed with Acclaim? No, me neither. What about if ECW stayed in business? What would their games end up looking like while still being developed by Acclaim? Nah, I don't think about that either. But Acclaim did indeed continue to make wrestling games long after Warzone, Attitude, Hardcore Revolution, and Anarchy Rules. Acclaim Salt Lake City, previously known as Sculptured Software and then Iguana West, put together a wrestling game that would celebrate the territory days of the business, signing up various wrestlers who weren't tied up in WWF contracts to present a game that, on paper, actually sounded really good. Think about it, you could choose a wrestler such as Terry Funk, Ted DiBiase, or one of the Von Erichs, and take that superstar on a journey through different territories of the 70s and early 80s, allowing fans to relive classic rivalries or play matches that could have only happened in a bygone era, and the roster available wouldn't be that bad either. THQ would start offering legends as unlockables in their WWF or WWE games, appeasing older fans by allowing them to play as their favourite superstars from back in the day. Legends of Wrestling was nothing but wrestlers from back in the day, and it really should have been something old school grapple fans could really enjoy. Unfortunately, things didn't work out that way. Good ideas? No, great ideas, but poor execution. The very fundamentals of a pro wrestling game is all about how well it actually plays when the bell rings, and Legends of Wrestling falls apart a little when things really get going. There's even more good ideas displayed during matches, however, and the grapple system that Acclaim came up with wasn't terrible, but we'll look at all this in today's video. This is Acclaim's Legends of Wrestling video game. So boot up the game and you'll get this intro video. Wrestlers perform moves, the moves get captured on Polaroid, the music picks up a bit and we see some of the gameplay. It doesn't look horrible. Before we dig deep into how the game plays and how the game looks, let's check out the roster. Everyone's unlocked here, and as you can see, there's some big names included in Legends of Wrestling, many of which had never been in a video game up until this point. Hulk Hogan's the main attraction here. He was front and center on the box art, and apparently he was the official spokesman for the game. Legends of Wrestling was released after the demise of WCW, and that's how Acclaim got some of these names. Some others, such as Jerry Lawler, were able to give their likeness due to not being part of the McMahon Empire during the game's development. So it looks like Acclaim were on the ball here when it comes to the superstars included in Legends of Wrestling. They didn't have to pay a king's ransom to get most of these guys included, and they completely avoided having to deal with big wrestling organizations. It's actually quite commendable. The colourful roster select though, and the superstars included, merely teased the player. You really do think you're in for a good time here with guys like Bret Hart, Ricky Steamboat, Billy Graham, Brian Pillman, the Rock and Roll Express, the Von Erichs, and Harley Race all being selectable. For more modern fans, you've also got the likes of Rob Van Dam and Sabu also on the roster. Pressing Y gives an alternate attire for the superstars, and some of these are noteworthy. You can choose between Flying Brian Pillman and the Rogue Horseman, for example. Subsequent Legends of Wrestling games did have better rosters. I talked about Showdown Legends of Wrestling in a previous video, where the main focus of that upload was all about who you could select to play with. Showdown still has one of, if not the greatest rosters ever in a wrestling game, and maybe I'll go back to that game sometime soon. That original video wasn't too hot, but still, Legends of Wrestling 1's selection isn't bad at all. Okay, let's start a match and I'm going to show you how to play Legends of Wrestling. Wrestlers have that action figure look as they make their way down to the ring. They don't look god-awful thanks to their pretty accurate attires, but they don't look good either. In fairness though, SmackDown Just Bring It on PS2 was the big WWF game that year, and I wouldn't say that that game looked all that good either, but it still looked better than Legends of Wrestling. Everything's exaggerated in Legends of Wrestling and things do look a bit ugly. Still, you can forgive it. Again, there's no big license here, and I'd say expectations were already low. During entrances, you can press buttons to perform taunts, letting you customize your entrance in the most limited way possible, and honestly, I'd rather have pre-animated entrances. I suppose it saved the developers from having to add more animations, and that's something you're gonna notice here too. A lot of animations are holdovers from previous Acclaim wrestling games dating all the way back to Warzone. Fucking atrocious. So, X is your strike button. A different direction with X performs a different strike. The black button is your run button, and you can perform running strikes with X or Y. The Y button, when standing, performs a ready move, basically a move where you don't need to grapple beforehand. And the B button is the initial grapple button, or the tie-up button. This is where I think Legends of Wrestling could have been good, and this is what kind of separated it from other wrestling games at the time. From a tie-up, you're going to press one of the face buttons to move into another position. So for example, the Y button will prepare your character for a scoop slam, or the A button will put your opponent in a bear hug position. Once the position has been determined, then your character can perform a move based on that position. For example, you can perform an overhead belly to belly from the bear hug position. You can also place your opponent's head between your legs to set up pile drivers and power bombs, and you can also prepare your opponent in a vertical suplex position. There's also 4 tie-up states when pressing the B button when behind your opponent. For example, you can put your opponent in a full Nelson before performing a move. That's not all though. If we look at the heads up display, we'll see an indicator telling us when to tap a button within a certain time frame. Tap the button at the right time and you'll perform move combos, allowing you to do extra damage. This indicator also comes into play for counters. You'll need to press the right button at the right time to counter moves, and yes, it's annoying as hell at first, but you do get used to the timing the more you play. Fill up the blue bar under your name so it flashes, get your opponent in position, and you can perform your finisher. All finishers are authentic, and some look better than others, gonna be honest. If you've got a manager or tag partner, the D-pad allows you to call for help. Your ally can distract the referee, for example, and really that's all there is to it. You've got your action button to get in and out of the ring, you've got ground submission moves, aerial moves. The problem with Legends of Wrestling though is the fact that it really lacks any kind of fluidity. Even though moves have been simplified in comparison to previous Acclaim wrestling games, the overall awkwardness has been held over. Characters just don't move around naturally, they run way too fast, walk way too slow. The game's strict on positioning, and it feels like you've got a 50-50 chance every time you try a ready move or a lockup. Opponents have to be super close for strike moves, running moves are lightning quick, and it seems like the developers just doubled the animation speed. It just doesn't feel fun, and even with a deep understanding of the button layout and the combo system, you still don't feel like you're totally in control. You're at the mercy of the game's overall lack of polish, and it's a damn shame too. I really like the tie-up system, and successfully countering moves and performing combos feels very rewarding, but I'm also not sure if that's because I'm just overcoming the game's overall shittiness. Legends of Wrestling had good ideas, from its single player experience right down to the actual bell-to-bell in-ring action, but they didn't deliver on those ideas, and again, it's a shame, because this could have been good if they took the time to tidy up the fundamentals. Match types are seriously limited. Just take a look here and you can see there isn't much to do. No gimmick matches, no steel cage matches, no ladder matches. It's as basic as they come. There doesn't seem to be any rules in place either. You can use weapons and fight on the outside as much as you like, so every match is a hardcore match. Multi-man matches, particularly Fatal 4-Ways, tend to slow the game down, and you'll see frame rate dips depending on how many characters need rendered and what arena you've chosen to wrestle in. Putting more than 2 guys and a referee inside the ring is a miserable experience, and what's worse, you'll have to play quite a few multi-man matches in the single player career mode. Keep in mind that a lot of wrestlers have managers or allies that will come to the ring too, so the game begins chugging along if it has all these wrestlers and managers on the screen at the same time. You can play 4-corner tag team matches, which wasn't a mode many wrestling games offered at the time. I still don't think they're very common, but the camera angle's a little annoying, and again, you'll be putting up with decreased game performance. In regards to arenas, there's a good choice available, from gyms to backstreets, from crowded arenas to jam-packed domes. Legends of Wrestling does deliver when it comes to arenas, and this is something they'd expand upon in future games. You think maybe they're going for a more 70s or 80s look with things not being overly vibrant, but I don't think that's the case at all. I think it looks unintentionally uninspired. The more I played the game too, the more I came to really dislike the character models. I loved the over-exaggerated look of WWE All-Stars, but here, it just doesn't work. Some wrestlers don't look disproportionate at all, while others look insanely big. And these bigger guys don't look all that good. They look fat, not muscular. You may think I'm nitpicking here too, but these guys are the stars of the show, and it was a chance for fans to play as these guys for the first time ever. And Acclaim simply dropped the ball. Some may like the choices they made for character models here. I didn't mind it at first, but the more I played, the more I grew to hate it. Create a wrestler modes here. You can create a male superstar, a female superstar, or you can edit a legend already included in the game. Immediately when you get into the creation suite, you're reminded of WWF Warzone and Attitude. Just the character stance and the overall look of the default superstar instantly brings you back to the PS1 days. There's parts here to create wrestlers who were signed to other companies at the time, but generally they're gonna look like shit. Here's my attempt at creating Mick Foley. Seeing as there's no women in the game, you'll need to create a bunch of ladies yourself if you want a female roster. The developers didn't really have the women in mind here, and you can even make big hairy girls just like George the Animal Steel. It's good though that they allowed players to edit wrestlers already in the game. These are saved to new slots too, and they can be used in career mode. It isn't the worst creation mode in the world, but it's nowhere near the best either. Even for its time, it would have been more frustrating than anything, trying to make a particular superstar and settling on a few of the limited options you had available. It's alright though for editing superstars that are already in the game. Alright, one of the main selling points of the game, and really one of the main reasons I wanted to pick the game up, was for the career mode. When you hear that Legends of Wrestling let you take a superstar throughout the territories, you instantly think, yep, that's a complete winner. That's a formula that's sure to be a success. In theory, it's good. You'll pick a region and you'll wrestle in cities within that region, taking on superstars that were popular in that particular area while building up your own popularity. It's not as good as it sounds though. They improved on this concept greatly with Legends of Wrestling 2, but Legends of Wrestling 1's career mode is so basic that it really really starts to get on your nerves. It's repetitive as hell, even though there's elements here designed to make things interesting. Somehow, even with these elements, it's still incredibly dull. The idea here is to build up popularity in each region by having exciting matches in each city. A match excitement meter is now visible during exhibitions, and there's quite a few ways to build this up. Bloody matches, lots of combos, move variety, high spots, finishers. Doing all these things will make the match more exciting, while repetitive moves, failing to tag in your tag partner, stalling, or constantly failing combos will make the meter go down. Now, the problem with this is you don't even need to try. Just play a match as you normally would and you're going to fill up the meter pretty much every time. You don't need to go out of your way to have these exciting matches, so it's absolutely pointless. And if you don't fill up the meter, then all you need to do is play another match. Once you've become the most popular superstar in the region, you can then challenge for that region's championship belt. You also have to defend the belt once, rinse and repeat. You gotta do this 4 times in total, and honestly, I couldn't be annoyed after winning the Southeast title. The thought of doing it all again was laughable, but I pressed on for the sake of this video. If you pick a babyface, Jimmy Hart will be your manager, and if you pick a heel, you'll get Captain Lou. Your manager's job is to guide you through career mode by talking about upcoming matches and sending your lazy ass to the gym. You'll unlock ability points and new moves after going to the gym. Well, you'll unlock the ability to do new moves and yeah, win every belt, go on to win the International Heavyweight Championship from Rob Van Dam, and you'll unlock some superstars depending on who you picked at the beginning of career mode. It's way too repetitive and you're going to get fed up after half an hour. The draw of Legends of Wrestling is the roster and being able to play as all these different superstars. When you're stuck with one for a pretty long time with limited gameplay doing the same thing over and over, it gets boring. No gimmick matches to change things up, no cutscenes except for your manager saying 1 or 2 sentences in between matches.
Congratulations on winning your first title, baby! It won't be long now before you have all the gold!
There's just no need to play this mode at all. I've said it a few times now, but the ideas are good. The match excitement meter could have worked better. Traveling to different territories is a fantastic idea for a wrestling video game. Going on to face the world champion afterwards was also a nice touch, but you won't stick it out for long. The charm of wrestling all these legends of the past quickly disappears when you're doing the same thing over and over. Your reward for doing all this, besides the unlockables that can be obtained at the very start of the game via a cheat code, is some bullshit text ending that tells you a bit about the legend you selected. No video covering the legend's career highlights, just some shit you can read on Wikipedia. And I know they couldn't get footage from the WWF, but they could have done CG or something, I don't know. I may sound harsh here, but you do expect more. There's nothing else to say about Legends of Wrestling really. The game received average reviews by a lot of people who clearly hadn't played a wrestling game before. Surprisingly, GameSpy and Game Informer gave Legends of Wrestling a 7 out of 10, and I feel that's way too generous. You know, fair play for putting together a game without a big wrestling company behind it though. Gathering a bunch of guys who were no longer employed by WWF and putting them in a game was smart, and I'm honestly surprised this idea hasn't been revisited in recent times. Getting to play as superstars of the past who were no longer active or who had passed away was great for old school fans, and the concept of Legends of Wrestling, I feel, was a good one. Acclaim must have knew this too. Even with Legends of Wrestling receiving mediocre reviews and what I assume were average sales because that information is hard to find. But even through all this, Acclaim developed a sequel that addressed a ton of complaints I and others had about the first game. The roster in Legends of Wrestling 2 was greatly expanded upon. More match types were added, such as cage matches and ladder matches. The career mode was completely redone with added storylines, including storylines specifically written for certain wrestlers within specific regions. And overall, the game just looked a lot better with better models and better arenas. I plan on covering Legends of Wrestling 2 very soon because the first game here leaves a bad taste in the mouth. I really wanted to like Legends of Wrestling 1 after giving it another try for this video, but it's as bad as I remember it really in terms of gameplay. Seriously, I think WrestleMania 21 on Xbox is better than Legends of Wrestling 1. But yeah, Legends 2 had guys like Eddie Guerrero, the Steiners, Big Sid Vicious, Owen Hart and Davey Boy Smith added to the roster, and the game does play a lot better. I'm not going to say there's massive improvements improvements in terms of gameplay, but it is better. I'll cover this one in the future, so if you're enjoying these game uploads and you're enjoying watching me put myself through absolute hell for your enjoyment, do me a favour and click the subscribe button, it helps out a lot. Thanks for watching, guys, don't play Legends of Wrestling 1 for any reason at all, and take care.
And we are the blood's grooving, the body moving, the record making, and the record breaking. And it goes a little something like this.
So the plan for this video was to just cover Legends of Wrestling 2 as a follow-up to the previous Legends of Wrestling 1 video, but boy did I struggle. Finding things to say about Legends of Wrestling 2 that weren't discussed in the last video was tough, and I think I may have jumped the gun a little when I said before that Legends 2 would get its own dedicated upload, because honestly, there really isn't a whole lot to say about the game. Yes, there's improvements in practically every area, but spending 5 minutes to list off those improvements wouldn't have made for a very good video. With that in mind, I've doubled up today and I'm going to cover both Legends of Wrestling 2 and Showdown Legends of Wrestling. Showdown has more than just a few improvements going on, and although I covered the game's roster previously, I want to try it again after spending quite some time with Legends 1 and 2 and see if I can find a new appreciation for it. So let's get started with Legends of Wrestling 2 and then we'll look at Showdown a little later in the video. Legends of Wrestling 2 was released at the very end of 2002 for GameCube, Xbox and PlayStation 2. Each version had a different coloured box art cover, which I thought was a nice touch. The PAL version included 4 exclusive wrestlers: Kendo Nagasaki, Big Daddy, Mick McManus and Giant Haystacks. However, we won't be looking at the PAL version today because I downloaded the wrong copy, sorry about that. Here's the roster, and we've got 25 wrestlers who weren't in the first game, though we lose Rob Van Dam seeing as he just signed with the WWE. This is the fully unlocked roster, by the way, and we've got the likes of Owen Hart, Davey Boy Smith, Bam Bam Bigelow, Baron Von Raschke, Eddie Guerrero and Sid Vicious included in this installment. The roster is impressive, and what's great too is the fact that each superstar has 4 alternative attires. Just like the previous game, these attires can completely change a character's gimmick, like Hulk Hogan here with his black and white outfit. No complaints at all about the roster. This is good, but it gets better in the next game. There's a healthy amount of arenas available too, from recreational centres to giant domes, and some of these look good, by the way. Again, no complaints about the additional locations added in Legends of Wrestling 2. As soon as you get into the game, you can see that a little extra care has been taken this time and things are a little more polished. I won't say there's vast improvements here to the entrances because, well, they still seem a bit, I don't know, basic. The entrances are now pre-animated, but wrestlers share the same couple of walk animations, and all we're seeing here is a few taunts in between. There's now pyro in the ring though, and there's a custom animation for each wrestler once they step inside the ropes, so it's not all bad. It isn't great, but it's better than the previous game for sure. They also tried a little more with the entrance music. There's bootleg versions of most guys' entrance themes here, and some of it isn't too bad. Hulk Hogan, however, comes to the ring with his American-made theme song. Either Hulk Hogan or Jimmy Hart held onto the rights for that absolute banger. Again, the other bootleg themes aren't awful. You can recognise the original themes through these knockoff versions. Start a one-on-one match, and what you've got here is pretty much a tidied up version of Legends of Wrestling 1. It looks better, wrestlers still have that action figure exaggerated look, with some again looking better than others. I mean, look at King Kong Bundy here, the fucking size of that big boy. If you watched my previous Legends of Wrestling video, then you'll know how to play Legends of Wrestling 2. The grapple system is the exact same, albeit a little tougher. The marker for countering and comboing moves a little quicker this time, and this isn't something you can change in the options menu. I found it way easier to combo and counter in the first game, but once you play a few matches with one character and you learn their limited moveset, you'll get the timing down in no time. There's some optimizations going on with matches flowing a little better with some updated animations, and the general movement of your wrestler has also been fixed up a little. There's also a defensive stance when getting back to your feet, just like the Aki wrestling games, but the overall improvements are minor, and if you didn't like the first game in terms of the bell-to-bell action, you're simply not gonna like this one. Legends of Wrestling 2, from a gameplay perspective, feels just like a fresh coat of paint over the previous game. It looks better, more effort went into the presentation, the graphics and the roster. New match types and an updated career mode are available too, which we'll look at in a moment, but that's where the big improvements end. It's better than before, but that doesn't mean it's great. I was able to play Legends 2 right away. I didn't need to learn anything new, except maybe the action button was switched around a little. It really does feel and play just like the first game, with things looking a little prettier, and that's disappointing. I would have liked to have seen the grapple combo system expanded upon, more options for combos, more grapple states, things like that. I would have also liked to have seen better general movement of the wrestlers. They do move a little smoother in Legends 2, but I'm not sure if they just messed around with the animation speeds. You can see here yourself just by looking that it plays just like Legends 1. Legends of Wrestling 2 features ladder matches and cage matches, and those are welcome additions. The cage and ladder are fucking massive though, but it's still good that they're included. In a cage match, you can climb out the top or you can beat the hell out of the cage door. It even has its own health meter. And once you break the door open, you can step outside after a little button mashing. Ladder matches are weird. The belt will lower itself after you do a certain amount of damage to your opponent. I'm guessing they didn't want ladder matches to end in seconds, with some asshole grabbing the ladder right at the opening bell and taking advantage of some poor bastard who didn't know the controls. But they tried to reinvent the ladder match here, and it's alright. I'm just happy there's more match types, so I guess I'm giving it a pass in that regard. Further optimizations have been made to multi-man matches. Here's an 8-man tag with absolutely no slowdown at all, though you'll have to play with this fixed camera angle that's seriously zoomed out from the ring. Still, it is an improvement. You're still going to find yourself bored in exhibition modes though. Cage, ladder and multi-man matches are all good, but it's still not enough. Remember, SmackDown Shut Your Mouth was released 2 months before Legends of Wrestling 2. The competition was bad enough last time with SmackDown Just Bring It, but Shut Your Mouth was a completely new WWE game on PS2, and it was absolutely filled with things to do. In a way, Legends of Wrestling 2 looked cheap compared to WWE's offering. Career mode sees the biggest and best improvements, but trust me, all you guys who said you loved the career mode in Legends 2 in the comment section in the last video, take off your rose tinted glasses, because I too thought this was better than what it really was. The territory system is back, and so is the popularity meter. You do the exact same thing in Legends 2 as you did in Legends 1. Have exciting matches, build your popularity in the region, challenge the champ and move on to the next. What's new here though are these storylines, and when I say storylines I mean these cutscenes here with the promoters. You choose a storyline at random when entering the territory, and all this does really is change what the promoters say in between matches, and it can also change who the regional champion is. There are some storylines exclusive to a particular wrestler. For example, Jerry Lawler has to fight Andy Kaufman in the Southeast region. There's also the Big John Studd Body Slam Challenge. It's a nice touch, but you quickly realise that it's the same career mode as before, with these cutscenes bolted on in between. Take WWF No Mercy for example. There's a lot of storylines in that game too, but the story progresses in different ways depending on what you do in some matches and whether you win or lose. Those kind of variables aren't in Legends of Wrestling 2. What you do before and after the cutscenes is the exact same with the match excitement meter and all that stuff. Things getting bolted on is a great way to describe Legends of Wrestling 2 actually. It's like they didn't update the game around these new modes and matches, and rather they tacked on a few additional bells and whistles to the old game and called it a day. What they did with the roster though was great, and it is a visually superior game. And you know what, I probably wouldn't be as critical if I didn't play Legends of Wrestling 1 first of all. I gotta show you this though. You get these videos when completing the game and you get a little information about your superstar. Look at the absolute fucking state of Bret Hart here. Even the skull on his ring gear looks like it's seen better days, and it's a fucking skull. Also, it says a devastating chair shot was what ended Brett's career, so yeah, it's a load of bollocks too. Let's quickly look at the other modes in Legends of Wrestling 2. There is something in here I really like and it made the game worth playing. Create a Legend modes here again, and again it reminded me of Warzone and Attitude. There's more selections available for customization this time around, and you've got your usual creation parts that verge on the wrong side of copyright infringement, but yeah, if you want to make a shit version of Kane, then go right ahead. Can't be any worse than that CGI Bret Hart. If you want to unlock everything in the game, you're gonna have to gamble. Yeah, you heard me right, gambling to unlock stuff. Again, everything's unlocked here, but you get the idea. Spend your green coins to try and win red and blue coins. You bet a certain amount and you gotta try to stop the marker on your coin to win. You can then use red and blue coins to buy arenas, wrestlers, concept art, things like that. No idea what strain was getting smoked when they came up with this idea, but it's dumb. I guess it's better than today's loot boxes and DLC, but Jesus Christ, you gotta play a minigame where you gamble in-game currency to unlock professional wrestlers. The theatre mode though is where it's at. First, the negative side. You can spend green coins to watch character endings. Now, you don't need to do this if you complete the game with a certain superstar because you can save each wrestler's progress in career mode, meaning you can load the character in career and then watch the movie. But it still sucks that you have to pay in-game currency to watch absolutely god-awful movies with inaccurate information. The concept art in the game is fun to look at though, I enjoyed scrolling through these. And then we get to the interview section, which is absolutely fantastic. Some, not all, but some superstars who were still living at the time recorded interviews, and you can watch these interviews right here. You can also unlock bonus interviews. They aren't super long, but they're still fun to watch, though be careful which version of Legends of Wrestling 2 you pick up. The GameCube version won't have any of these interviews, and I'm assuming that's because of limited disc space. These, to me, almost make Legends of Wrestling 2 worth owning. There's no point nowadays seeing as all interviews are on YouTube, but you know what I mean. I feel like I've mastered Legends of Wrestling 1 and 2 and I know the game's engine inside out, so let's see how Showdown Legends of Wrestling now stacks up. Showdown was the last game ever published by Acclaim, developed by a small team led by Justin Withers. Justin said, "After 4 years working as a designer on All-Star Baseball, I applied for the lead designer position on Showdown after learning Acclaim was bringing the game to the Austin studio from the Salt Lake City studio. Acclaim relocated almost the entire engineering team, but none of the designers. The goal was to focus on wrestler feuds and nostalgia of classic wrestling. The company also wanted to rebrand the Legends of Wrestling title for a fresh start, so Showdown was created. We were behind the 8 ball from the beginning when corporate told us, whatever you need to make this game a hit, you've got it. We want a Metacritic 80+ title." Everything then was measured by the Metacritic score, and you have a year. What we got were dated resources, some team members who absolutely hated sports games, and some engineers who absolutely did not want to change anything about what they had created for Legends of Wrestling and Legends of Wrestling 2. We'll come back to Justin soon because he has some fascinating insights into what Showdown could have been and why it probably turned out the way it did, but let's play a game first. Immediately from the opening video you can see the graphical upgrades that went into Showdown Legends of Wrestling and it looks fantastic. It still has that Acclaim look about it, for lack of a better term, and you get the feeling it's gonna play the same, but the characters are looking better and the arenas in particular look brilliant. Before quickly looking at the roster again, let's jump straight in and see the gameplay differences, if there are any. So let's try Bret Hart versus Hulk Hogan, and look at this. Look at these entrances compared to the previous 2 games. Look how good the characters look. Look at the arena. This was such a big upgrade from the previous games visually. Gary Capetta is now announcing the superstars to the ring, and we have Bobby Heenan, Tony Schiavone and Larry Zbyszko providing commentary. Repetitive commentary, but it is great hearing these guys again calling matches. So the first thing I'm noticing is the combo indicator's now gone, but I'm still able to pull off combos thanks to experience. I'm not comboing moves as often, but I know which moves can be comboed and I'm just struggling a bit with the timing. It's a bit crazy that they had removed the indicator, but I'm nearly sure you can turn it back on by lowering the difficulty. Some of the moves have been changed around too, which is causing me some problems here, but I'm able to stumble through the match, remembering that X is now my defensive button instead of A. Finishers are easier to pull off too. You don't need to get your opponent in the right grapple state, it seems. Seriously, after playing those previous 2 games, Showdown was an absolute joy to play. I went out and lowered the difficulty, and no, the combo timing indicator is completely gone. You do get a little help with the game giving you some button prompts, letting you know when to counter moves and letting you know what attacks you can do, but the combo marker and indicator is now gone. In saying that, I found it easier to combo when the difficulty was put down, so definitely play this one on the jobber level when you first boot it up, just to get used to things. It may not be perfect, it might not even be that good, but it's a different game from the previous entries, and right about now, that's all I really want. Here's the match types available in Showdown, and as you can see, we now have table matches, first blood matches, 2 out of 3 falls matches, and Iron Man matches. So we have much more to do in exhibitions. Gonna need to learn how to play this properly, or at least remind ourselves how to play this properly. So go to the extras menu, select Bret Hart tutorials, and the Hitman himself will explain the controls and how to win matches.
Get close to your opponent and press the grapple button to get into tie-up. Once in tie-up, you can walk your opponent around the ring for a short time.
If anyone's going to learn you how to be a winner, it's going to be His Excellency himself. There's also a memorial video that pays tribute to superstars in the game who passed away. This was actually quite thoughtful. I'm going to get back to playing a few matches in a moment. I just want to show you guys the rest of the game modes though before we dig a little deeper. Create a legend is here once again, and yeah, there's parts here to create other legends that aren't included in the game. There's still limitations here unfortunately. You can't change the colour of a lot of parts, and generally speaking, there still aren't that many parts to choose from, but it is an improvement. It also loads really fast too compared to previous games, so that's a bonus. There's 2 main single player modes in the game apart from exhibitions, the Showdown Challenge and the Classic Match Tournament. Showdown Challenge lets you take on superstars from the 70s, then 80s and finally the 90s. You'll win a world belt for each decade, and you won't unlock a single thing for completing this mode by the way. You'll only get these little text promos delivered through a magazine. In the Classic Match Tournament, you'll unlock new classic matches to play through, but you don't get any cutscenes or anything like that. Instead, you're told a little about the match during the load screen, and you're told what point of the match you're picking up from, so you don't even play full matches here. Needless to say, the single player offerings aren't great then. I appreciate not having to play through 50 or 60 matches like Legends 2 just to complete career mode, but at least Legends 2 had rewards for completing career mode, as in extra wrestlers or the opportunity to fucking gamble your earnings. Still, we can't complain about unlocking wrestlers because Showdown is absolutely packed with legends, and I said this before, but in my opinion, this is the greatest roster in any wrestling video game, period. Mr. Perfect, Rick Rude, Bret Owen Hart, Sting, DDP, Ultimate Warrior, Hogan, Dusty Rhodes, The Steiners, Kerry Von Erich, Jake Roberts, Randy Savage, Andre, Terry Funk, Abdullah the Butcher, Roddy Piper, Rick Martel, Eddie Guerrero. It's an incredible bunch of superstars here, and everyone has 4 attires too, again letting us play different versions of each superstar. Arena selection is fantastic too, with Madison Square Garden, the Omni, the Pontiac Silverdome, Wembley Stadium, and the Tokyo Dome all being selectable among other iconic venues. Arenas too look great. They've been updated a little with giant screens and the like, but still, each one looks vastly different from the other, and some really do capture the atmosphere of certain events that took place in the past, such as the Garden here reminding us all of WrestleMania 10. In cage matches, you no longer have to fight the cage door. Pressing a button calls for the referee to open it up instead, and you can walk out after mashing the X button. The title belt no longer comes down gradually in ladder matches. You can grab the belt whenever you want, although you're still going to have to do significant damage to your opponent. A glitch happened here where Dusty Rhodes got himself stuck in the ladder and he had no idea what to do next. Luckily, he eventually figured it out. Table matches are okay. You gotta whip your opponent onto the table or hope you get lucky with a grapple move just beside the table. There was a bit of glitching going on here too, and yeah, this needs addressed. Showdown Legends of Wrestling got ripped apart for the glitches in the game, and I think the glitches are byproducts of a clean blame trying to use new mechanics and models with their old engine. Showdown needed more time and development when it came to the bell-to-bell action, unfortunately, and this becomes evident with the more matches you have. I'll come back to the game's shortcomings in a moment. First blood matches are straightforward enough and you can get busted open at any time at all, so be careful. In short, the new match types available are welcome, but none of them are absolute standouts. Again though, it's all way better than the previous 2 entries. 8-man tags are available again and there's no slowdown. You can now set the rules as elimination too, so you can have long Survivor Series matches, and with the roster you've got available here, you'll be able to make some interesting Survivor Series teams. So with Showdown containing this amazing roster, an amazing set of arenas to play in, and with the game looking the way it does and playing pretty well too, why do people dismiss it and why did it receive average to low reviews? As mentioned, there are glitches, and for some gamers, glitches are completely unforgivable, and that's fine. A lack of quality assurance in video games is annoying considering the money and time the players are willing to invest. Another big problem with Showdown though is the fact that you really do need to play the previous 2 games in order to appreciate the third. Showdown changes the game in a big way, but it also retains quite a bit from Legends 1 and 2, both good and bad bits, but Showdown comes off so much better when you see where it came from, and I think if we judge the game on its own merits with no comparisons, the gameplay then comes off as a bit clunky and a bit unintuitive. Bret Hart may explain a lot in the tutorials, but he doesn't explain things like the awkward timing of the game and the other general problems that were kinda carried over from Legends 1 and 2. Strike moves are an issue too. It's hard to explain, but a strike move gets treated like a grapple move, where you press the A button and then an animation plays out between yourself and the opponent, meaning there's this delay that breaks up the fluidity. You're not just throwing a punch or performing a kick, you're triggering a full animation that, depending on the move, doesn't happen very quickly. The wrestlers kind of fix themselves in position and then the strike happens, and it's one of those things you really need to feel for yourself to know what I'm blobbering on about, but just take my word for it, it sucks. Moves are limited too. I found myself doing the same thing quite often and having to make a conscious effort to avoid certain button presses and directions just to change things up. The AI can also be really dumb sometimes, especially when a stipulation gets added to a match. And I don't want to rip into Showdown too much though. For fans of 70s and 80s wrestling, it is good. It's impressive as hell how they got this kind of roster and how they captured an old school vibe with Showdown. I think they nailed it this time around with the atmosphere and the arenas and the wrestlers, but also I don't know how many times in this video I've said the phrase "it's an improvement" or "it's better than older installments." I'm not so sure if I'm enjoying Showdown this much because I just played Legends 1 and 2 and I had a pretty bad time with those previous games, if that makes sense. In saying all that, I still recommend Showdown and I think it does deserve a bit more attention, but in order to fully appreciate it and understand the core game engine, it might be best to have a few quick games of Legends 1 and 2 beforehand, but having to play previous entries in a sports game to get the most out of a new release does seem a little silly too. To wrap things up, let's go back to lead designer Justin Withers. Justin said, "The artists in Austin did an incredible job giving Showdown a unique look and classic feel, though I regret that we never got to do the game the way we wanted, with new animations and a new engine. Career mode was, from all that we discussed and planned and designed, about 10% of what we hoped for. We simply didn't have the time or resources to do the cool things we wanted. I still feel like, had we actually gotten to utilise a 6-month extension, had more support from people in the studio who turned their noses up at sports titles, and were more organised and united as a team, we would have sold 1 million copies and averaged 7 or 8 out of 10. We had grand visions and we were assured we could pull it off, but there just wasn't the support or belief necessary. After Showdown, the WWE games became indistinguishable from the previous versions. Showdown was like the small indie movie that was ambitious but flawed, but you can sort of see what the director was trying to do and could have possibly done with more resources. I honestly hope that's how people remember it, not for what they expected or hoped for, but for what it was. Blood, sweat and tears of a group of guys who literally slept in the office watching wrestling, playing the game, tweaking the gameplay, generating artwork, and working together against huge odds to make a fun game." That's going to do it for this one then, and that's all 3 Legends of Wrestling games covered on the channel. All in all, what we have here is a pretty interesting non-licensed series of wrestling games, and while they were really no match for the WWE juggernaut, there's still fun to be had here, particularly with Showdown. Since getting this Xbox, I feel like I'm rediscovering a treasure trove with all these old school wrestling games that may have been overlooked in the past, but I'm going to be honest where I need to be too. You could completely skip over Legends 1, you could dabble in Legends 2 and check out the career mode for a little while and also learn the combo system. Showdown's where you're going to have the most fun though with its insane roster. Thanks for watching guys, and take care.
Check this out. What's happening, Def Jam? Remember Math Man?
Touch it, bring it, touch it, bring it.
What's happening, Def Jam? Remember Math Man?
Leave it, stop formatting.
Methods killing, MC killing. What more can I say? Stop grilling. That's what you get for acting Hollywood. And since y'all understood, what you?
Touch it, bring it, pay it, watch it, burn it, leave it, stop formatting.
Da 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 day, da 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 day, ay. Da 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 day, da 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 day, ay.
Wrestling, hip-hop and video games. For many back in the day, these 3 things were what life was all about, especially those in their teens. Imagine then putting all 3 together, a wrestling video game with robbers. It doesn't actually sound all that appealing, does it? But the thing is, EA's Def Jam games that mashed up the world of wrestling with the world of rap music, actually worked really well. Turns out that rappers and wrestlers actually have a few things in common, the most noteworthy being the fact that they have personas and these extensions of themselves that help them stand out from the crowd. You've also got your very real hip hop stars who live the gimmick and those who just don't have a gimmick at all, they're just real life badasses. So in terms of creating a roster, using rappers isn't really a bad idea. Of course, if you absolutely despise rap music with every bone in your body, you're likely going to disagree and brush the Def Jam games off as nothing more than a cash grab or a gimmick aimed at the gullible. Another licensed game that doesn't deserve any of your time. But honestly, if you missed out on Def Jam Vendetta or Def Jam Fight for New York, then you missed out on 2 of the most fun wrestling / fighting games of all time. Let me make this very clear, you do not need to like hip hop music to enjoy the Def Jam games. You don't even need to like music to enjoy the Def Jam games. Yes, you'll get a little more out of them if you know the roster and you have an appreciation for the background music, but at their core, Def Jam Vendetta and Def Jam New York are wrestling games. Today we're going to play Def Jam Vendetta, the first game in the series. And after explaining what the game is all about and looking at what's on offer, my hope is to show those who never played before just how good it is, and maybe some will give it a try for the very first time. For those who played Vendetta all the way back in 2003, get ready for a trip down memory lane. Boot up the game and you'll get an intro video that sets the scene for the game. Def Jam Vendetta's final boss, D-Mob, talks about how he runs the streets and all that good stuff. And then we get to the title screen and have a look.
The boys are back in town, boys are back in town.
That's right, Def Jam Vendetta and Def Jam New York were developed by Aki Corporation, the same heroes who brought us the legendary WCW and WWF N64 games such as Revenge and No Mercy. EA is our publisher, and those who watched the WCW Mayhem video recently would remember me talking about how EA used an external development team, Kodiak Interactive, to develop their WCW games. Well, WCW Backstage Assault got ripped apart for being awful, and so EA wanted to bring in a new developer for WCW Mayhem 2, apparently. The WWF moved on to using Ukes as their new game developer, and so Aki were free to work on a wrestling game once again, but it wouldn't be licensed to the World Wrestling Federation. EA decided to work with Aki to bring the WCW games back to their glory days, and Mayhem 2 was teased in magazines. But the World Wrestling Federation ended up buying WCW, and with that purchase, EA lost the WCW license. Not wanting to give up on using an updated version of the Aki wrestling game engine, EA partnered up with record label Def Jam to deliver a brand new wrestling game that had no ties at all to the World Wrestling Federation, or any other wrestling organisation for that matter. Def Jam Vendetta is the Aki wrestling game that followed No Mercy, meaning Vendetta gives us a lot of insight as to how a WCW game could have looked in 2003 had Vince McMahon not purchased the company. Looking at those early concept designs for WCW Mayhem 2, you can see the similarities in Vendetta. It's a much more grittier wrestling game that once again takes place in the streets, so yeah, forget about all this shit right here and forget about all those mods. The closest you'll ever get to playing No Mercy 2 or the latest WCW game is by playing Def Jam Vendetta. So here we are in the game, and I want to talk about how the matches play out first before we look at story mode. This is pretty much No Mercy on speed. Those who played the N64 Aki games will feel right at home. You can quick tap the strike button to do quick strikes or long presses to do extra damage. Same with lockups, a quick tap of the X button does a weak lockup, a long press will do a strong lockup. Strong lockups do more damage, but they can be harder to pull off. Moves are countered with the shoulder buttons, you have defensive strikes and grapples too. Basically, it plays like No Mercy with a few differences, but we'll talk about that after looking at the meters. The thin bar is your health and the thick bar is your momentum. Fill up your momentum meter, flick the right analog stick, do a lockup, flick the stick again and you can pull off your finishing move, or a blazing move as they're known in Def Jam. If your opponent is in the danger state while performing a blazing move, you'll win by KO, and this is the easiest way to pick up a victory. If your opponent is not in the danger state and you still pull off your finisher, you can either try going for a pin, or work at getting your momentum meter filled back up. Submissions take a long time, especially if your submission stats aren't great. You won't ever win via submission unless you're making a real effort to do so. So the whole KO thing and the life bars already make Def Jam a little different in comparison to No Mercy, but the speed of the gameplay also sets it apart. The gameplay is very fast, but this doesn't mean matches are quick. Those momentum meters can still go up pretty slow, especially if you're not changing up your moveset, and especially if you're trying to fill up the momentum meter for a second time. There's a good balance here of arcade action mixed in with traditional pro wrestling, and it makes for a very frantic yet very fun grappler. Timing and picking your spot is the key to victory. The CPU can be quite difficult, especially in early stages of career mode, so you gotta learn when to strike, when to grapple, and when to turn it up with strong grapples and top rope moves. This isn't like early Aki games where you can pull off high risk moves without much to worry about. The CPU will counter a lot here if you aren't playing on easy mode. The blazing moves in Def Jam Vendetta are simply brilliant, and they get even better in Def Jam Fight for New York. Everything is over the top here, but the finishers still manage to look pretty violent. I'll show off some blazing moves on screen right now, and something you may notice is that the camera doesn't always catch the best angles for the finishers. This is a shame, but again, the game's sequel fixes this issue. Each character has two different finishers and some will definitely make you laugh. There's a lot of thought put into these moves and you'll want to see every one. Characters also have different styles. Guys like Method Man will lean more into heavy wrestling moves, while Redman controls more like a fast kickboxer. Def Jam New York expands on this concept greatly, but we'll talk about Def Jam Fight for New York in a different video. But with each character playing differently and with plenty of blazing moves to check out, you won't get bored anytime soon with Def Jam Vendetta. Those familiar with the N64 Aki games will get to grips with the controls very quickly, but Def Jam Vendetta is a very different game too. Your strategy for winning matches will be different, you'll have to learn quickly how to counter attacks, and you'll need to know the optimal time to pull off your finisher if you want a hassle-free victory. It's a very fast game, it can also be a hard game if you don't know what you're doing, but luckily there's a few things that can help before you get stuck in. First of all, check out the tutorial videos, these are pretty well made, and they explain the basics when it comes to controls. And secondly, before you get stuck into career mode, you might want to play a few rounds of survival mode. You can easily build up cash here and get your stats built up before taking on the main one-player game. Before looking at career mode though, let's look at the roster. There's actually more original characters here than there are rappers, and you've got some interesting ones like Chuckles, the street fighting clown, Iceberg, totally not an Ice-T ripoff, and you've got Roughneck too, the skinhead who well, yeah, he's an asshole.
We're gonna do this Confederate style, boy!
There's also a group of babyfaces here, and these guys are available for career mode. You'll pick one of these four and you'll be able to alter their stats while taking them through the story. There's a few female characters too, but we'll talk about these ladies in a minute. And then we have the rappers of the game, such as Ludacris, DMX, Joe Budden, Scarface, Method Man, and Dub C. I know I keep bringing up the sequel, but Def Jam New York expanded the roster by also adding actors, models, comedians, and even more rappers. The Vendetta roster isn't as good as the New York roster, but Def Jam New York does not include DMX. There's enough characters here though to keep you busy, and you won't run out of choice anytime soon. Remember to use the original characters too, because they have some of the best blazing moves. Quick side note, the Japanese version has 2 additional characters, Debo and S-Word. I've no idea who these guys are, so apologies for that, but is S-Word his PG name? Is his name actually shit? Who knows? You've got a ton of licensed music too by guys on the roster, with instrumental versions playing during fights. And Funkmaster Flex shouts into the microphone as you fight your way through every character in the game.
Y'all ready to rumble? I got my money on Brick City out there, baby. You're almost there, big moves coming.
Okay, so you've got story mode, you've also got battle mode, which is basically exhibition matches for 1 to 4 players, survival mode, which lets you run the gauntlet. This is good for getting your stats up, as mentioned earlier in the video. You've got the tutorial, galleries, options, and a high score table. Let's look at story mode then. You're going to pick one of 4 guys, and you might want to play a few exhibition matches here before making your choice. I'll go with Proof. He's the fast and flashy one, but I'll need to work on getting his other stats leveled up. Your character is a street fighter who used to be the shit, but D-Mob came along and took your spot along with your fly girl.
Say some gangsta is dissing your fly girl. You just give him one of these.
Your friend Manny ends up bringing you back into the world of underground wrestling matches because he needs replaced in a fight. And from there, you begin working with Manny to help pay off his debt to D-Mob. So you're working your way up the ladder to help your friend. In between fights, you'll get updates from Manny and other fighters via email, and you'll also see a lot of cutscenes that progress the story. The end goal is to take on D-Mob and reclaim your spot as the best street fighter in the city. In order to do that, you gotta qualify for the Def Jam tournament by completing areas and beating the licensed characters in the game. But there are a few other things you need to do too. You'll team up with Manny in a tag team tournament. These matches can be seriously frantic, but they're also good fun. And then we have the girlfriend situation. So you have this girlfriend. Every now and then another girl will come along and you'll choose one to fight with. Whoever wins a fight for your affections will become your new lady. And as you unlock the girls, you'll also have a chance to purchase their photos with in-game currency. Now, you don't want to buy these photos. One reason is obvious, okay? The next reason is you're gonna need that money to build up your character stats. So keep your little beast tamed and forget about this stuff. If you really want the photos, unlock them once you've maxed out all your characters. All these girls are just distractions though. Your real woman, Angel, she was taken by D-Mob when your character fell from grace, so you'll end up getting back with her as the game progresses. All this stuff with the unlockable photos and the girls fighting over your character, their sad look of defeat when you choose someone else. I could honestly see people complaining about this today because people have nothing better to do, but even I'll admit it's absolutely unnecessary. It doesn't add much to the story, and it's just a reason to shoehorn in some women's wrestling. As you progress and update your stats, your moves will also change, and that's one thing I don't like about the story mode. You're never told when your moves have been updated, and you find out in the middle of a match. It's good that your character learns new things, but getting the choice would have been better. All in all though, the story mode is good. You never know when a new message or a new cutscene is gonna happen. You'll unlock everyone you fight along the way, including area bosses, and there's enough to keep you going until the very end without getting bored. There's a 3-on-1 handicap match that can be a little bit of a pain, but if you've got your stats up, you shouldn't have any problems. So stay away from those photos. You really You don't need it. While wrestling, keep your timing in check. Stay aggressive but still ready to counter, and remember to leave strong grapples until your enemy is hurt and you shouldn't have any problems. Fair warning though, the CPU gets incredibly good at countering towards the end of story mode, almost to the point where it feels a little unfair. You'll still beat the game without any problems, but the difficulty does ramp up and the CPU becomes a mind reader, countering your moves like crazy. Don't get frustrated, just kick its ass and you'll unlock everything for multiplayer mode. As a heads up too, you will need to complete the game twice to unlock everyone. D-Mob's henchmen are only available after completing the game 2 times. So, what did the critics say? GameSpot gave Def Jam Vendetta an 8.4 out of 10, saying, "As a wrestling game, Def Jam Vendetta manages to succeed on most every level, providing surprisingly deep gameplay, quality graphics and sound, and a distinctive atmosphere. And while the game could have used a few more real-life artists and a bit more depth, Def Jam Vendetta is still strong enough in its execution to make it a perfect alternative for fans who have grown weary of the standard WWE-style games. Vendetta is truly a great wrestling game that any fan of the genre should try." IGN gave another good review saying, "It's the game that makes The Rock look like a pebble and is a must-buy for all fans of the genre, and as you can see by the score, it's the highest rated wrestling game on the site." GamePro gave Vendetta a 90 out of 100 score. They said, "At once, the best wrestling game in years, an awesome showcase for some damn good hip-hop, and an example of what can happen when a company takes a chance." But there's also some who didn't find the game all that appealing. Eurogamer posted a 3 out of 10 review, and listen to this. "While the game is a complete rip-off of Shut Your Mouth, it does play as well, if not slightly better than the WWE title. Yet despite this, and even though I'm not a WWE fan, I'd still play Shut Your Mouth before Def Jam. Why? For the same reason I'd prefer to watch WWE over real wrestling, because it's got character. This is the first time EA Big have gotten the mix between style and substance truly wrong, but that's what you get for listening to the marketing department and not the gamers." Bit of an odd one that, stating an Aki game is a rip-off of a Ukes game, but nonetheless, the review looks like it's written by someone who can never ever be pleased, and Def Jam Vendetta is compared to WWE games throughout the whole review, so yeah. By and large, scores were mainly positive with the exception of a few who couldn't get over the fact that rappers were in a wrestling game. In my opinion, Vendetta is a great wrestling game and a real nice change of pace when compared to what was available at the time. I played through story mode again for this video, and I had a blast. It's a game that holds up and a game that's still fun to go back to. Multiplayer matches are a whole lot of fun too, and just like any multiplayer game really, you'll have a better time playing the game with someone who knows the game as well as you do. Matches can become quite long if you have 2 evenly matched players, and things will become tense when both you and your friend try to win via KO. Vendetta is a good game all in all, and it is one you need to play if you skipped it previously.
I'ma take your tongue out and lick my ass with it. I ain't no
Every day, heavy rotation. Come with it. This should make you rob somebody, grab somebody, stomp somebody, slap somebody, rob somebody, grab somebody. Wild out smash at the club, we in the party. Brooklyn, Chalet, Queensbridge down the Long Island. Come on, rocks, come on, Manhattan. Come on, each and every hood, what's happening? Come on.
Def Jam Fight for New York was the 2004 follow-up to Def Jam Vendetta. The game came out for PlayStation 2, GameCube and the OG Xbox, and today we'll be looking at the PS2 version. I wanted to use my original GameCube disc for this video, but I had some problems with the capture card, so we'll just be using the PCS X2 emulator and upscaling a little too. Def Jam New York was once again developed by Aki Corporation, But this game is very different to everything that the company developed previously, including Def Jam Vendetta. Def Jam New York mixes your standard wrestling game with street brawling, creating a new style of fighting game that's really in a genre of its own. The beauty of Def Jam New York though is that this new style works incredibly well. The game was praised pretty much across the board, mainly thanks to how much more accessible it was. If you played Aki wrestling games on N64, you already had a good understanding of Def Jam Vendetta. As for Def Jam New York, you might as well completely forget about the old Aki games, because this is a different beast altogether. Game producer Josh Holmes said, "With Def Jam Fight for New York, we wanted to do things differently. We wanted to create a fighting system that was simple and rewarding enough at its core that any new player could pick up the controls and do some cool stuff. At the same time, we knew we needed great variety, underlying depth, and strategic play to keep things interesting for more advanced players. We sought to create something new and original that took cues from fighting games, wrestling games, and classic beat-em-ups. We also wanted to disprove the notion that a fighting game can't have a deep single-player experience and storyline." There's a reason why Def Jam Fight for New York is held in high regard, not just by fans of wrestling games, but gamers in general. Let's take a look at the game today, and just like Vendetta, hopefully I can sway more people into giving it a try. What I'm going to do in this upload is explain the game as we look at story mode. This is where you'll spend the most time in Def Jam New York, and in comparison to Vendetta, there's a lot to do here. It's best to look at story mode first because this single player mode explains how to play the game in terms of how to win matches, and it also introduces the characters, the match types, and the venues. The story picks up where Vendetta left off. D-Mob gets arrested after losing the last fight in the previous game, but someone helps D-Mob escape. One of the cops will try to give a description of the guy who helped D-Mob, and your custom character will then be created based on the information that you give the sketch artist. It's a great idea, but the sketches sometimes don't look like the character you intended to create. For example, I tried to make The Rock here. That doesn't look like The Rock. I always tend to give up and just go with whatever it presents. You bring D-Mob back to the safe house, and because you've earned his trust, you'll be fighting on D-Mob's team for the first half of the game anyway. Method Man will teach you how to fight, but before you do that, you gotta pick a fighting style. Pay attention here because what you choose can make winning matches easier, but that'll be at the cost of pulling off flashy moves. A kickboxer can knock out opponents with clinch combos. A street fighter can throw haymakers to win fights. A martial artist can KO opponents by jumping off objects and performing high-flying moves. A wrestler can KO with strong grapples. And submission specialists can end matches by making opponents tap out. There's more to consider here too though. Your stats, your moveset, your defenses, and overall capabilities are altered based on your choice. And also, a little later on in the game, you can add more fighting styles to create hybrid fighters. There's a ton to experiment with, and you'll need to work out what's best for you, but it's a lot of fun mixing up the styles and seeing what moves you can pull off. Method Man then shouts out some moves for you to try out, and once you learn how to play, you'll get brought to your new apartment. In the apartment, you can read emails and listen to voicemail, change your clothes, change options, check trophies. Basically, the apartment is your main hub. There's also a map here, and this is where you can select your next fight or visit the shop district. More on that later. Okay, so I selected a Street Fighter, and now would be a good time to show you guys how fights actually work in Def Jam New York. In comparison to Vendetta, Def Jam plays out a little more like a typical fighting game, but you have to knock out your opponent once their health is in the danger state. The environment is your biggest friend. Hurting your opponent using objects found around stages is a great way to get knockouts. But remember your fighting style too. As I'm a Street Fighter here, I can hold L1, press the punch button, and I'll be able to throw a match-winning haymaker as long as my opponent is in danger and as long as my opponent doesn't block. I can also use my blazing move.
This is some unsanitized shit!
I can pick up an item and hit my opponent with it to get the win. There's lots of ways to get that knockout, so you'll never get bored during fights. Locking up and pressing the lock up button again performs a throw, and this is used to set up environmental attacks. Locking up and pressing a strike button will do different things depending on your fight style. It might perform a wrestling move, it might perform a kick or a punch. It all depends on your character and the choices that you made at the start of story mode. Holding in the L1 button performs strong grapples, strong kicks and strong punches, so you have a bit more variety here in comparison to the previous game. Reversals and timing your counters plays a big part too. This is the underlying depth and strategy that Josh was talking about. You need to predict what your opponent is going to do next. A well-timed punch, kick or grapple is way more effective than trying to dodge, so this isn't like a typical wrestling game where you can spam the counter button and hope for the best. You need to time everything. Learning how much recovery time your opponent has is the key, and understanding how quick you can perform certain actions depending on your fight style also helps out a lot. Admittedly, this can be a bit tough when you start off, but the more you play, the better you'll get. In short, the fighting style that you pick and the character you pick in exhibition matches will change how you approach each fight, meaning Def Jam New York has a ton of replay value. To be fair also, it's only the very basics that get explained in the tutorial, and the instruction manual was next to useless. Def Jam New York definitely has a learning curve that I feel players of the old N64 wrestling games would struggle with a little more in comparison to brand new players. You expect characters to behave a certain way because you're used to that old Aki engine, and when this doesn't happen, it feels like you're doing something wrong. In Def Jam New York, you need to learn the timing. If you just button mash, you're going to get destroyed, especially in later levels. But the good news is, eventually it'll just click and you'll be punching and kicking your opponent away during lockups, and you will get better at predicting what's coming next and how to react. You'll get there after the first load of fights, but it's important not to give up. This all adds up to a very interesting evolution of the Aki wrestling engine. It's definitely a strong change from what we've had before, but it works incredibly well. It somehow manages to maintain that addictive quality found in previous Aki games, and you just want to keep playing more and more matches. It's a lot of fun and there's so much to experiment with. Also, the fighting and the moves in Def Jam New York look really violent, and along with the great sound design, even basic knockouts manage to look brutal. The blazing moves are over the top as usual, and they're even better than what we got in Vendetta, and there's also a ton more blazing moves available. But even if you don't win with a blazing move, you still feel very satisfied by just punching your opponent hard in the face to win a match. Anyone who's played Def Jam New York though will tell you that it's a bit hard to explain just what makes it play so well and what makes it so fun to play too. Give it a go yourself and, most importantly, stick with it. Back to the story mode map and back to the shopping district. Here you'll be able to make cosmetic changes to your character while also visiting Henry Rollins' gym. This is where you'll update your stats, learn a new style to create a hybrid fighter, and you can also buy new blazing moves and assign them to a different direction on the right stick. You spend development points here, which is good. This frees up cash earned in fights to make cosmetic changes. Changing your clothes and look gives you a small bonus after winning fights, and it also helps to boost your charisma, which gives you your blazing move a little quicker, but it isn't very substantial. You could play through the game using the same outfit, but the custom clothing items look so good that you'll be changing these quite a lot, at least I used to anyway. Jacob sells jewellery, Manny makes his return in Def Jam as a tattooist, and you can visit Stingray to get a new haircut. You'll unlock new items for the shops as you continue story mode, and you'll get text messages when new stock has arrived. You're encouraged to keep changing everything you do, from your fighting style to your clothing to how you win matches to how you look doing so, and you're given rewards for keeping everything fresh as you continue through the game. So you start off fighting for D-Mob and taking part in underground fights, getting rewarded for how well you perform. At first, it's like a standard arcade mode and similar to Vendetta. Clear an area, fight the boss, move on to the next area. But soon enough the map opens up and you can choose where to fight. You'll soon get introduced to the final boss of the game, the leader of the opposing team from Harlem. Snoop Dogg, or Crow as he's named in the game. Yeah, Snoop Dogg plays the heel in Def Jam New York, while D-Mob, the heel from Vendetta, done a babyface turn. Snoop's crew will also send you messages challenging you to fights and generally being a bunch of dicks. So what you pretty much end up with here is a story about gang warfare, along with guys jumping sides and guys backstabbing one another.
I've seen what you've done against the small timers out there, but if you for real, let's say you go against someone serious.
Your character eventually joins the dark side and you too end up turning heel, meaning you get to fight against everyone on D-Mob's crew also. Girlfriends make a return too, and yes, they will fight for your affections once again, but these fights give you a chance to check out different fighting styles, especially if you jump straight into story mode without playing exhibitions, so they aren't a total waste of time. There's no photos to purchase this time though, so those who enjoyed that aspect of Vendetta may feel a little let down. The tag team tournament from Vendetta is here once again, along with the new free-for-all tournament featuring 4-way elimination matches. These again can get quite fast and frantic, but they're a lot of fun to play through. Free-for-all matches give you a lot of development points too, so make sure you play them. As you play through story mode, you'll unlock fighters, venues, songs, blazing moves and new match types. Now, these match types, some can be a little pointless because usually you can still win via knockout, but you can play matches where you'll automatically win by using a certain environmental attack, such as throwing your opponent out of the ring in the Dragon House, or throwing your opponent onto the train tracks in the subway. It's nice to have these options, but they don't differ too much from standard one-on-one matches, and that's because the heavily modified Aki engine in Fight for New York doesn't really lend itself to typical wrestling stipulation matches. The demolition matches though, they can be pretty fun. You can win these matches by destroying your opponent's car. Eventually, D-Mob gets injured in a drive-by and this leads to your boss getting arrested. Blaze, played by Method Man, takes charge of the crew. This is when things fall apart for the babyfaces. Your team tries to take over every club in every area around New York. Crow asks you to join his squad, you say no, and so Big Snoop Dogg decides to kidnap your fly girl.
Say some gangster is dissing your fly girl. You just give him one of these.
This leads to your character joining the bad guys, and you'll get a chance to fight the likes of Method Man, Redman, and everybody else on D-Mob's team. I won't say much else about the storyline in case you want to play it for yourself, but considering this game was released in 2004 and considering it's a fighting game, there's quite a lot here in terms of the plot. It isn't overly deep, but it is fun. That's not to say that story mode doesn't have its problems though. First of all, you get emails and voicemails after every fight and it gets annoying, especially when it's the shop owners that don't progress the story. Another thing that begins getting annoying is visiting the gym. Every fight gives you development points and you will need to spend these in order to win future fights. So you're going in, updating a few stats at a time, and doing this over and over again until you're maxed out. It's good that you can build your character up and make them better fighters. It's just tedious actually going in and doing this after every 1 or 2 fights. You could save the points and hit the gym after 7 or 8 fights, but that'll lead to more challenging fights in between. You're best off just spending the points as soon as possible. Still, these are small annoyances really. The emails and voicemails can be ignored if you really want. The single player career mode in Def Jam Fight for New York is good overall though, despite these little things. You'll get a souped up custom character out of it too, and because there's other fighting hybrids to experiment with, you'll likely want to complete story mode more than once. So let's move away from story mode and let's look at the entire roster. I'll go through the whole character select screen so you can have a look. This has been expanded greatly. There's a ton of guys here including Def Jam artists, artists signed to other labels, there's even actors, models, there's a ton of guys to choose from here, and you even get a few original characters, some of which return from Def Jam Vendetta. Newcomers to the game include Snoop Dogg, Ice-T, Fat Joe, Mac 10, Exhibit, Busta Rhymes, Carmen Electra, Flava Flav and Sean Paul, just to name a few. 69 characters are available in total once you complete the game 100%, and you've also got the option of creating new characters. You'll also unlock every venue in the game once you complete story mode, and there's a very good mix here. You can have matches inside a traditional wrestling ring, you can have matches inside the octagon, or you can take your fights into the streets, into nightclubs, on rooftops. Even Snoop Dogg's office is available to fight in. The amount of fighting areas and the amount of characters means you'll have a lot to play through. Match types, I touched on this earlier. You can select window matches, demolition matches, inferno matches. All these rely on the player using the environment in a specific way to get a victory, but as mentioned, it's a little pointless seeing as you can also win via standard KO. Still, you won't get bored quickly here, and the vast amount of venues and fighters also means there's plenty of variety for multiplayer matches. Just make sure you have a save file with everyone unlocked. If you don't want to play story mode, you can unlock fighters and venues by using points earned in exhibition matches, although this will take a lot longer. Also available in the game is an extras section where you can enter cheat codes, view the intro video, and you can also watch the Def Jam Fight for New York trailer. There's a beatbox where you can listen to the entire soundtrack while turning off the songs you don't want to hear, and there's also a high score table that keeps track of multiple different scores.
You have big talk now, boy. You gonna cry like a baby when my frost say yo.
Hey yo, I'm built to smash you, partner. Now I'ma break your goddamn neck.
Alright, what did the critics say? IGN gave the game an 8.7, saying, Def Jam Fight for New York is a better game than the original, without a doubt. The mixture of fighting and wrestling is a good move by EA, and the presentation really is in the top tier of fighters. If you like playing fighting games alone, Def Jam offers a robust and impressive story mode that ends up being much better than any of the multiplayer modes. Even if you don't end up the biggest fan of the grappling system, the blazing moves are certain to leave anyone impressed. There's a great sense of fun, of true enjoyment in the development of Fight for New York, and that translates to the game. GameSpot also gave the game an 8.7. They finished their review by stating, Def Jam Fight for New York is a great sequel. It would have been easy for the developers behind this game to just crank out an incremental upgrade, but Fight for New York is anything but incremental. It feels like a whole different brand of game altogether. What worked in Def Jam Vendetta has been expanded and improved upon in almost every way, and the new story mode, complete with its character creation and customization element, is simply a joy to play through. Eurogamer, who completely ripped into Vendetta, gave a slightly better review this time, although the reviewer still couldn't get over the fact that rappers were in a fighting game. Giving the game a 6 out of 10, Patrick Garrett of Eurogamer wrote, Def Jam Fight for New York is slick, mass-marketed entertainment for, well, the mass market. This is not a discerning game, it's exploitive and very well made. Although not flawless enough to raise any eyebrows from those heavily indie games, and certainly not enough to tempt you away from the myriad more hardcore offerings this Christmas. Buy it for little Johnny's stocking, as long as you don't mind Ice-T shouting, "You're nothing but a punk, your daddy's a punk, and your mama's a bitch," every time he Shaolins his head in. What the fuck? Personally, and I think you've probably gathered this already, I think Def Jam Fight for New York is excellent. The fighting looks incredible, the knockouts look brutal. I honestly don't mind the soundtrack at all, I think it's actually really good, and I enjoy the characters that are available here. Just like Vendetta, you'd be a bit silly to pass this up just because you don't like hip hop.
Oh yeah, this is special.
In 2006, a new version of Def Jam Fight for New York was released, this time for the Sony PSP. Fight for New York, The Takeover, is a curious release that served as a prequel to Def Jam Vendetta while using many of Def Jam New York's assets. It's quite odd. The single player mode removes all the cutscenes and replaces them with text dialogue to further the story, seeing as the story here is about what happened before the Def Jam tournament in Vendetta. But we also gain a few new things too, such as new moves and new techniques. It's for players who want to play Fight for New York while on the move, while also adding a few differences to keep players engaged. And it really isn't all that bad either. Yes, it does play a little slower as you can see here, but I think it's okay. This one doesn't get enough coverage, I feel, so I'm going to cover the takeover in a future video. And I'll end this Def Jam series by taking a look at Def Jam Icon. That should be fun. In my opinion, and it's just my opinion, if you want the cream of the crop, I'd go with Fight for New York on PS2, Xbox or GameCube. I know I said I own the GameCube version, but that's probably your last choice, seeing as there's some music removed, and also there's voices cut from the game. It also has longer load times in between fights. If you have to choose one, go with the PS2 or the OG Xbox version. As mentioned in the Vendetta video though, prices for Def Jam Fight for New York are pretty high, and it seems to get higher every few months. Emulation is an option too, and you can see in this video that PS2 emulation these days is pretty much perfect, so there's no reason not to try it out. Most people who watch my videos, I know you're WWF guys or WCW guys, or just old school wrestling fans in general. And if you were anything like me, you played the old WWF and WCW games to death. Trust me, the Def Jam games are a breath of fresh air, and if you don't believe me, just ask anyone else who played them. They definitely come recommended. That'll do it for today guys, thank you so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed this one, and take care.